talented people to live, start businesses, raise families, and grow old together. Known regionally for its robust art scene, downtown Nyack will become a connected, magnetic, year-round destination for residents and visitors alike by showcasing its unique history, leveraging its strong and engaged community, centering affordability and sustainability, and expanding upon its physical assets. A walkable and vibrant mixed-use business district area with thriving shops and restaurants and an energized waterfront easily accessible throughout the region. Any questions about the vision? And then we made two very minor, but we just felt that we've received a lot of comments from the 16 responses. A lot of them were just really wanted to emphasize about maintaining and furthering downtown Nyack as being very walkable. So we added the word walkable towards goal number 7. And then we also heard that there was a bit too much focus maybe on the waterfront when it should be all of downtown. So we made that change up top as well. So the New York Forward goals: reactivate key sites and improve building facades to energize the downtown and promote a more cohesive commercial landscape. Redefine and enhance the gateway area to create a more inviting and active entrance into downtown Nyack. Develop opportunities to further celebrate the history and diversity of Nyack's arts and cultural communities and civic organizations. Improve connections between key areas in the downtown, such as the waterfront, commercial corridors, and the gateway. Create additional housing in the downtown to increase affordability. Encourage more regional and local visitation to downtown to create a more consistent customer base for businesses. And improve public spaces to be more walkable, welcoming, and accessible to all. Any questions, comments, thoughts about the goals? No? You guys are just anxious to get to the projects, I bet. All right, so next we're going to talk about project evaluation criteria. So this is, you've heard this before, so I'm going to go pretty quick, but the eligible project types: public improvement projects, small project grant fund, new development and or rehabilitation of existing downtown buildings, branding and marketing. And then project requirements are shovel ready in the near term, project scale, size and scale, looking for generally projects that are over $75,000. Project sponsor capacity. Again, sponsors can be public, nonprofit, and private entities. Financing, matching and leverage. So at the last LPC meeting, the LPC determined that the private match requirements would be 25% match for private projects that are less than $750,000 in total project costs, and 35% match for projects over $750,000. Nonprofit project sponsors would be subject to a 5% match, and then no match for public projects. Also, project requirements are being able to demonstrate site control, building decarbonization, and reimbursement, which we always put there, just a reminder, this is a reimbursement program, so we always need to make sure that our project sponsors have a way to finance before they receive reimbursement. And always a reminder that strong New York Forward projects are catalytic, transformational, able to be implemented in the near term, and create synergies between different projects and programs in the downtown. So this is the project evaluation process. During LPC meeting number 2, when we last met, the LPC determined the project evaluation criteria for refining the project list. At today's meeting, the consultant team, that's me and Susan, will present the projects received through the open call for projects, and will assist you in determining whether the project is eligible. We found one project that we think is ineligible, which we'll go over with you. The rest we felt were eligible. But of course, we can always talk about that. Project alignment with vision and goals. So we are going to present each of the projects. And so we will present them after each one. You guys can ask questions, comments, discussion. But then we won't actually look at them against the local goals until we get to the end. So after we presented all the projects, you have a chance to see what all of them are. Then we're gonna ask the LPC to pull out your phones. If you can bring one with you, I have mine you can use. And then you guys will be doing an exercise via Mentimeter to look at project alignment with the vision and goals. The LPC may refine the initial project list, so there is no pressure. You do not have to refine the list today, but if we will ask if there are any projects, particularly any projects that are not aligning with the vision and goals, we will ask if you want those projects to proceed through to the next LPC meeting. At LPC meeting number 4, projects will be presented to the LPC with additional information. So like I said, we have already gone through one round of review from the consultant team where we asked all of our questions. If there were just, questions on the budget, information was missing, we didn't understand something, we've already reached out to all the project sponsors, and I believe we've gotten responses. Yes, we have. We've gotten responses from every single project sponsor, which is pretty good, by the way, because not all communities do that. So we're pretty happy here. But we will, after tonight's meeting, we will go back to them with additional questions. I'm sure you guys will have questions that we won't be able to answer. We will go back to them with those. We'll also continue to be looking at their budgets and looking at their financial information. And we will continue to, it's kind of an open dialogue. So projects that are going through to LPC meeting number 4, we will meet with them if we need to. We will ask them questions, and then we will have updates for you at meeting number 4. And then at LPC meeting number 4, you guys will use a different, you will use further project evaluation criteria to continue to refine the project list. And then at meeting number 5 or number 6, you guys will determine the final slate of projects worth $6 to $8 million to be included in the strategic investment plan. As a reminder, the project evaluation criteria is state and local goals, which we're talking about tonight. And then the other ones, project readiness, catalytic effect, co-benefits, cost effectiveness, and public support. Public support we'll save for meeting number 5, because in between them, we will have public workshop number 2, when we will present the public projects that have all gone through past meeting number 4, will be presented then in October. And we're not sure which evaluation criteria we'll use at meeting number 4. We'll kind of have to look at that and see what happens tonight. But expect most of these we'll discuss at meeting number 4. Any questions about the evaluation criteria? I know it's a lot, but hopefully it will become more obvious as we're in the middle of it. No? Okay. I'm not going to read through all of these. I'll leave it up on the screen for just a minute. These are the New York State goals for the New York Forward process, and all the LPC members have. You guys have a copy of this evaluation worksheet in your packets, and you have the state goals as well as the REDC goals are located in here. So if you forget what they are, you can go back and reference them. And we also have the local goals printed out for you as well. That would be page 2 of the, it looks like this, of the evaluation. And then again, we'll pause on the REDC goals for just a minute. All right. And then the draft New York Forward goals, which we just went over, so I won't read them again, but again, they are in front of you, so you can refer back to them. Okay, any questions, comments? Nope, okay. All right, finally, projects submitted to the open call for projects. And here's where I'm going to turn it over to Susan. The code of conduct.
Each local planning committee member is reminded of their obligation to disclose potential conflicts of interest with respect to projects that may be discussed at today's meeting. If you have a potential conflict of interest regarding a project you believe will be discussed during the meeting, please disclose it now and recuse yourself from any discussion or vote in that project. For example, you may state that you or a family member have a financial interest in the project, or you are on the board of an organization proposing the project. Do any LPC members need to make a disclosure to the group?
Yeah, can we get you all just to raise your hands to decide, make sure?
That was just me.
Okay, we're good, and I think we've gotten paperwork from all of you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have my hair.
I have one, I need one minute.
Oh, okay, we're gonna ask you guys to publicly state which projects. Why don't we start with Brooke over here, since it's a little easier.
Sure, so I'm the executive director of the Rockland County Pride Center, which has a project in for a mural.
Okay,
Maureen's Jazz Cellar and Maureen's Community Main Stage, and I have a project in for the Little Eddie Hopper.
Okay.
Immersive tour.
I'm the executive director of the Nyack Chamber of Commerce, and we have a plan your visit tourism tool proposal, and then I'm the artist on a mural project for Elmwood Playhouse.
I'm the board member of the HNI. And I'm also receiving funding from the Chamber of Commerce for night for visit night, but also. I produce concerts at the Angel Nyack and Nyack City.
oh, yeah, I can forgot.
We need to leave. And that's the-
Yes.
So the process is, when we get to those projects that have refusals, we will ask whichever member has the refusal, you will be asked to step out into the hallway. Sorry, it's kind of awkward, but there's a door right over here, and you guys can hang out in the hallway for a minute, take a break, and then we will call you back in when ready.
And if you have any recusal forms, just please make sure that you get those to me before the end of today.
And if you haven't had a chance to see all the projects yet, I know we sent you the information, but if you haven't had a chance, or if we're in the middle of presenting, you're like, oh, wait, I do have a refusal, that's fine, just raise your hand, let us know, and then we'll take with us. All right, any questions about the chat? All right, so here's our one ineligible project. It was Boxer Donuts had submitted an application for sidewalk upgrades. Is for the installation of new sidewalks with curb or bollards in front of there. As you can see, there's not really a sidewalk there. We determined that it was incomplete for a couple of reasons. Or is ineligible. First off, the application was incomplete. The project sponsor does not have cost estimates. And based on estimates that we've received from other projects, we believe this project will be far less than the $75,000. There are other projects on this list that you see that are under $75,000, but we felt that they could be considered eligible, despite that, because there is no other outlet for funding those projects. If it's a project that's like a facade upgrade that the small project fund could potentially absorb, then we would take it to that. But if there's no other option, then we tend to leave it on the list. But this one, because they didn't have a project, they didn't have the cost of it. Again, there were some issues with the ownership, and also it kind of didn't make sense to just put sidewalk here, but also not elsewhere on the street. So instead, what we did is we talked to the village about it. They're not 100% sure what they can do, but they said they offered to, reach out to the project sponsor and have them contact us, and we'll try to work with them to try to fix their sidewalk situation. And so we did. So we talked to the project sponsor, and he was fine with that. So is the LPC okay with leaving this as ineligible and therefore off of the list of projects? Yeah. Okay. Here's a project map. As you can see, we've got projects all over from the gateway. Kind of not a lot, nothing really in that middle stretch there, but then all, of course, spread all throughout the northern and southern areas. All right, so we're gonna get started on the projects. The first one, just the order of these is geographically kind of what made sense to us, kind of starting, I don't have the map up, but starting from the gateway and kind of coming over. So there's no order of importance. Just want to make that clear. This first one is Gateway rezoning. The project sponsor is the Village of Nyack. The village wishes to hire a consultant and undertake public planning process to update local zoning code to replace the CC zone. It's roughly, it's on the area in gray. New York State Route 59, from New York Thruway ramps to the top of Main Street. With mixed use zoning district. The goal is to create an uptown shopping and residential neighborhood. Coordination with Clarkstown current planning efforts. The total project cost is $200,000. The total New York Forward request is $180,000. This is the first project. Any questions, comments, discussions? What are your thoughts on?
Are we gonna explain the projects at all, or the sponsor's gonna explain them to?
No. So we are asking, so I understand there's a lot of project sponsors in the audience. We're really happy you could join us. For tonight's meeting, we are asking because we have so many projects to get through. That we're gonna be presenting the projects and answering the questions from what we have on your application. The applications in their total, except for any information that was confidential, that we keep to ourselves, but any other information that you submitted has been sent to the LPC for their review prior to tonight's meeting. Yeah,
So I guess other than the group here, is there a way you can explain just a little bit more briefly what this is really, this is just to hire a consultant and.
sure. So the consultant would perform and would do all the things that you need to do for rezone. So they would perform an analysis of redevelopment opportunities. They would also do the environmental review, draft legislation, including dimensions, uses, lot standards, affordable housing requirements, et cetera, and all other manner. So I think what the village is trying to do is to create that gateway area that is a lot of large lots. But like, a lot of surface parking. The hope is that eventually that would be created into this, into almost like a neighborhood. So there would encourage residential uses as a way to get more housing into Nyack, and just to fix up that area. Yeah,
This is on 59.
yes.
It's Route, can I just explain the
Yes,
Route 59 from 9W up to basically McDonald's, or really up to the Chase Bank
Right,
that's there. That's the area, and it's all those parcels on both sides of the roads, although mostly I think the idea is the southern side of the road could use some reconsideration.
Okay.
and the town of Clarkstown is undergoing their own planning process right now, where they're looking to rezone that area that's just adjacent to the next district. So it would be done in coordination with them to ensure like kind of this seamless neighborhood, yeah.
I'll say, you brought up kind of what I was gonna say, we were relying on the town council to participate in this and to.
Not necessarily, I think it could be done regardless whether they ended up participating or not.
What would they own? None of that?
No, Clarkstown's, the part she's talking about is not on the map. Clarkstown is the central Nyack part that's after McDonald's, as you go down Route 59, where the Audi dealership is. The idea is to align what they're doing with what we would be
So-
doing.
This is Clarkstown up until here, and then this border here is Nyack. And so that's all, so it would be this area, right, would be the rezoned area.
Yeah, my family's lived on top of Kilby forever, and that's a very neglected stretch. And there are people who live up there who are kind of disconnected because of the way the thruway kind of chops Nyack in half, so any attention, I'm sure would be welcome. And there's, some wonderful economic activities, there's this restaurants at the main grill, and there's supermarkets, and it's a neglected area that deserves attention.
And can you, what is the CC zone specifically? What are these, is that,
Commercial corridor,
Commercial corridor.
so no residential is in there?
It's, the idea would be to take the CC zone, and the entire gray area is the CC zone. And then to consider rezoning it for a mixed use residential and commercial. This is just a preliminary step. This is not anything, it's just to investigate the feasibility of it. Because right now, the only thing that can go there is commercial. You cannot put residential in that community.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay, the next project is the Gateway Underpass Beautification and Improvement. Again, this is a public project sponsored by the Village of Nyack, with the description being beautification and safety improvements for pedestrians and motorists at the underpass with the thruway. This project would include new underpass lighting to illuminate the roadway and the sidewalk improvements and curb repairs on both sides of the underpass, as well as potentially under the underpass, as well as additional sidewalk, and then a curb extension on Kilby Street to reduce the width of that crossing. Also included is highway median improvement, including painting of underpass columns and new landscaping and lighting to the east and west of the underpass, including a wildflower meadow on embankment, and new trees and landscaping by the bus. The total project cost is just over $907,000, with the total New York Port request of about $817,000. Are there any questions or comments on this project?
So the idea here is to better connect that area that's west of the underpass. We were out there today taking photos, and the sidewalks there are in bad shape. So that would be part of the project. And then, so just to connect pedestrian wise, to connect those two areas.
For part of the design of this, what is in the application, like who designs it?
So so the village would have to go through an RFP process. They have not selected somebody yet. So if they were awarded the project, part of the funding would go towards a landscape architect firm to help determine the final plan. But the idea of what's included in the cost estimate would be repainting of the columns, fixing up the sidewalks, new trees and plantings where feasible along the way, new crosswalk on Kilby, new lighting for under the underpass. I think those are the main things that would be funded along with the landscape architect.
And then also new lighting, I believe, along the new sidewalks on both sides of the underpass.
Any questions, comments? Okay.
All right, the next project, going a little further towards the waterfront, is 143, 145 Main Street to install bollards and do sidewalk upgrades. This is a private project. So the project would do replacement of sidewalks and extension, as well as install bollards, and consist of about 1,200 square foot expansion of the existing sidewalks and 20 bollards to the extended side. The purpose of this project would be to enhance pedestrian safety and mitigate the risk of future accidents, as the sponsor has conveyed that this location has been the site of multiple vehicle-related accidents, resulting in damage to adjacent buildings and properties and posing ongoing risk to pedestrians. The total project cost is $170,000, with the New York Port request being $127,500. I will note that this project does not yet have approval, as you know, this does involve village right-of-way and would need to be maintained by the. Are there any questions or comments on this project?
I was just wondering, are there really more accidents in this moment than somewhere else? Is there some data about that?
We don't have any data on that. That was just, we don't have any data on that. That was just conveyed to us by the project sponsor.
LPC, speak up a little bit and ask the questions.
Or why don't you repeat the question when they ask it,
Sure.
because they're having trouble hearing.
Sure. The question was whether or not we had any data saying that there was a lot of traffic incidents on this particular corner, and the response is no. We don't have data, so it may or may not be an issue. We don't know. Our conversation, we did have a conversation with the village about it, and they are not aware of this corner being more dangerous than any other corner in Nyack.
Just so it's clear, this is mostly traffic going southbound on Franklin, crossing over Main Street. That's the trouble. That's the area of concern.
Thank you. And so again, it would be to extend the sidewalk and put up a whole bunch of bollards in the sidewalk or an extended sidewalk.
I actually do have one more question as a matter of process. So let's say there's no permits for this already, as you have said.
Correct. They have not formally applied. I think the village is aware of this as a potential project. But the project sponsor has not reached out to the village to get any sort of approval yet.
So what happens if we agree to a project that is ineligible for some reason because of permitting?
I think that if if the LPC wanted to continue forward with this project, I think the next step is we would go to the project sponsor and probably ask that they start coordination with the village immediately, because we would want to know whether or not, I mean, there's a whole bunch of projects that will need some sort of approvals, but most of them are this is a little different because this would require a significant amount of actual work within the village's purview. The village is the entity that owns the street, of course. And also they would be asking the village to maintain this. So whether or not the village has an interest or the funding to maintain this would be, of course, something to think about. So our next step with this project would likely be to, if it were to continue, would be to ask the project sponsor to get in touch with the village ASAP to coordinate.
I just want to clarify one thing, because while it's true that there's not been any formal application to do this, there have been conversations going back probably about 1.5 years between the building owner and the village, that he did bring this up to us, but not in a formal application law.
Any questions? Next one up is the Nyack General Fire Protection Company #2, volunteer firefighter housing and training facilities. The sponsor type is a nonprofit. It's a volunteer fire department. They are looking to renovate an existing 3-story building to create housing and training facility for fire department at 146 3rd Avenue to help retain and recruit volunteer firefighters. They own the building. They recently purchased the building, so they own it. The building is currently vacant. They are looking to add in 7 apartments with amenities for volunteer firefighters. A new firefighter training center, storage for local firehouses, new landscaping, trees, and a volunteer firefighter memorial, and repaving of parking area and new fence. The total project is 1.175 million, and they are looking for a new forward request of 950,000. They have applied for this project because the volunteer fire department is all volunteer. They've seen a significant loss of volunteer firefighters since the pandemic. So I think in 2019, they have lost over 90 firefighters since 2019. And so this is a strategy that has been employed by the Nyack Community Ambulance Corps. And then they've also cited other examples of other communities that have done this, and been Piermont as an example, and Huntington as well. Where the idea is that they have a couple of units, is that if volunteer firefighters in part are leaving Nyack because they can't afford to live here. So by creating housing units that are below market cost, it would be through a lottery system. It would not be based on income. They would be using the model that's currently used by the ambulance corps. So that it would be a requirement that you have to be certified as an interior firefighter, and required to make 50% of all fire calls and 65% of drills, or drill training or functions. And then it would be lottery based. Once you are determined eligible, then it would be lottery based and getting units. They would have 1 studio, 3 1-bedrooms, and 3 2-bedrooms. As well as a community laundry. The proposed rents as of now are about $700, a range of $700 probably for the studio to $1,200 per month, which would be very, very much under what you can expect to see in Nyack right now. Any questions?
Jill, do they currently, do they have another place right now where they're currently training people and housing people?
So the question is whether they currently have another place where they are housing or training. I think they have other training facilities, but this would help increase the capacity for that. They do not currently have other housing. Are they using any other funding sources? Yes, they must be. And I apologize for forgetting now. I know that's one of the questions we asked them. I think it's mostly coming from them. And then I think, from the nonprofit that's gonna be running this, and then they are also gonna be using, part of it is because they'll be, the training center, is that the firefighters not the firefighters, the companies, the firefighting companies that will be using the space for training will pay them like a minimum rent. And so the part of that will be going to kind of like maintain the building and helping to keep it going. Yeah, they do have other funding sources. I don't think they have other grants. I think it's just them, like money that they've been saving for this.
If state money is used towards affordable housing, the fact that they require for a specific amount of.
So the question is about whether or not if state funding is used for this, whether they have to comply with any state laws and if there has to be a certain AMI. I think in this case, I see here that we put in the slide that it would be 7 affordable apartments, and I should probably take that out of the description because they would not be designated affordable per state. And I don't think they would be required, they would not be required to fulfill any type of AMI.
Jill, did they describe to you what kind of renovations they're gonna be able to do, be able to do training, particularly outside and those things?
So the question is about the training and what type of work they'll be doing to what that will look like. No, they did not. I don't think they did, but we can ask them that question. Any other questions or comments about this one? Thank you.
Is this an appropriate, like, if you're gonna go back and ask questions, would now be an appropriate time to recommend a question?
Yeah,
I think it'd be helpful for us to see the data in Rockland County about retention, about what this kind of housing, you said it happens in Piermont, any other areas? So,
Yeah. Okay, so the question is wanting to go back to the project sponsor and ask about retention and about throughout the county and whether or not this is a problem throughout the county, being able to retain firefighters.
You give me all clear?
Yes.
Can we request that they not have a sign rate?
well,
Yes, you can request if they not.
Contingent.
I'm not part of that request, I just want to make
Bring
sure,
back the paper.
I'm not getting into that particular. I mean, I'll stretch. Elliot's comments are stricken from the record.
All right, the next project we received was upgrades to the Elmwood Community Playhouse. This is a nonprofit project. It's a performing arts theater. The project would modernize facilities with exterior renovation and technical upgrade of existing lighting and sound systems to complement previous renovations and enable them to expand further. Specifically, the scope includes restoring the building envelope, including a new roof facade renovation, improving the weatherproofing on part of the building, and a new mural. And then this also includes upgrades to the lighting and sound system to current professional standards. Just to note that this is part of a larger restoration project that the Playhouse has been undertaking. From the work they've already completed, including accessible restrooms, creation of a third rehearsal studio and so forth. And then specifically the facade renovation that they're proposing as part of this project would be fully repairing and replacing the siding on the Park Street, New Street corner. And then installing a mural, I believe, on that Park Street side, on that one. And just to note, you all may have a slightly different New York Forward request in your project, that you received via email. We followed up with the project sponsor just to get some clarifications. There are a little few discrepancies, and so we do now have a total project cost of $506,000 with a total New York Forward request of about $481,000. Any questions?
I have two quick questions. One is, what did we decide? Just I can't remember the exact number of the nonprofit match contribution. What's it supposed to be? 5%?
5%, and they do meet that.
Okay, well, yeah, I just was making sure there was 5. I can't remember if it was 5 or 10. The village has voluntarily done 10%. But I remember we decided on the nonprofits, it was one or the other. The other question I have is, so there's a mural as part of this project. There's also a mural as part of, there's a Pride project that includes a mural. Both of those are separate from the Hudson Valley Mural Arts 5 murals. So there's 7 total murals that are being proposed in one way or the other.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure they weren't duplicative.
No, there's no duplicated ones. This one is completely separate from any other project.
I guess my question with this one, or even the Hopper House, or any general ones, is that if there's a way that, if we had to, and we've already exceeded, the ask has already exceeded the funds that we have, I mean, is there a way to prioritize what their ask is, and is that part of this process? I mean, is it all or nothing? So like, suppose, just saying, looking at this project in front of me, is like, okay, a roof is important, we'd love to help you out with that, however, the mural and the lighting is, is there, do we get you to that point in this process? And if you've answered this before in previous meetings, I.
No.
No, and it's a good question, and the question asked by the LPC member is whether or not the LPC can prioritize funding within a particular project, so we can ask for one element of it, but not the whole. So the answer to that is yes, you can. We typically don't do that at this first meeting. Again, we're kind of just looking at the project overall and whether or not it meets the goals, and we think maybe it's a project that that the LPC wants to move forward. And then at the next meeting, we will be providing these slides. We will likely have another slide that has the full budget, so you can see more line by line what the budget is actually funding. And I think that would be a more appropriate place to do that. So tonight is more like, are we interested in the project? If so, let's get to the next stage and then we can ask. And then if the LPC wanted to do that, we will go back to the project sponsors. The project sponsors have to say yes or no, because they may say, it just doesn't work. We don't have money for the roof. We're not gonna be able to redo anything if we don't redo that roof, just to use that as an example. In which case they might keep it in the project in. And of course, we'll talk more about this at LPC meeting number 4. Just the thing to be aware is, yes, absolutely, you can do that. But we also want to make sure that these projects are looked at as a whole, because in a lot of times they can't, achieve the impact without the full project, and they may not have the funding, especially the nonprofit organizations, but they may not have the funding otherwise to do the rest of it without forward funding. Also is that because we have to get down to a $6 to $8 million, there will have to be some projects that are cut completely. We don't want to have just reduce the ask on everything, because that ends up being not impactful as a whole.
Do they share, the impact that they have, like the many productions that they do, and how much money it generates for the village? Do they share that at all in the application?
They do provide community benefits and what it would enable them to do. So some have, most of them are not. The question was whether the applicants share information with us about what this funding would enable them to do. So in this case, I think they did tell us, because that was one of their questions, and I forgot to write it down, of course. In this case, what they felt that it would, although they're not able to expand their space, but by, especially with the lighting and the sound equipment, by being able to have new lighting and sound, they said that their lighting and sound is very outdated. So allowing them to fix those and to get all new equipment in would allow them to have different types of productions than what they can accommodate now. So they would be able to offer wider variety of productions. It would also allow them, because some of the project includes some upgrades. I think to the interior, no, they don't, but they felt that even with just the technical, having those technical upgrades, that they would be able to expand their offerings, up to six productions a year, or throughout their calendar year.
They, in the application, they explain what the impact of the current productions bring to the budget.
Oh, the question is whether or not they explain, what the current impact of the village is from their current productions. No, they do not. But none of the sponsors did. Yeah, and that's not something we asked them. I think that's, you need to like hire like an outside like consultant for that kind of thing. It's a little hard to do. Yeah.
How many shows they put on, how many, and that,
Just to see like, would this help them build what they currently have? in-
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
To
that's,
know that there's an actual community benefit, and by doing so, you improve community.
It's answering that catalytic effect.
Exactly.
Question.
Yeah. that's something that we can certainly ask them. The question is whether we can go back to the project sponsor and ask them how many productions and what's their attendance like at their productions now? And then what's their estimated once the work is completed? Got that. Okay. Any other questions, comments? And can you go ahead, Bill? 100%. Did we have any refusals for the Edward Hopper House Museum?
I don't think I need to recuse, but I should disclose that I've been named to an advisory committee for them. I'm not on the board, I'm not making there's no financial relationship at all, but they formed an advisory committee, like a strategic planning committee that I'm on, just got put on.
It's just a disclosure. I think that's fine.
Okay.
And my partner's on the advisory board, is that not?
I think similar, there's no financial benefit to you or your partner.
Okay.
So the Edward Hopper House Museum and Study Center renovations, this is Edward Hopper House Museum, this is project sponsor. They are looking to restore the Edward Hopper House exterior, upgrade the garden theater and infrastructure, renovate, art lab, the art lab, modernize outdoor theater, and expand programming in the art lab. So the exterior restoration would be restoration of windows and shutters, plus installation of new storm glass panels. The garden theater and infrastructure upgrades would include new lighting, outdoor screen, and fence, and repairs to lawn and hardscape. This is kind of a little diagram of, preliminary diagram of their work. And then art lab renovation for wall repair, new art studio furniture, cabinetry and sink, restore water service. The total project cost is $642,000, and the total New York Florida request is approximately $610,000. The project sponsor has said to us that the garden improvements will allow for further programming, including private and nonprofit rentals. So once they do the upgrades, I'm just talking right now specifically to the outdoor area. Once they do upgrades to that, they will be able to rent it out to different places for their use.
Why is there no current water service?
No current water service? Oh,
It says they would restore water service.
I don't know. Their art lab, it sounds like, so their art lab, which is currently used, they use it for students, use it right now for various art projects in collaboration with the museum. It sounds like it has not been updated, or they haven't really done anything with it for several years. And why the water service is off, I don't know. It's a good question. They said that being able to redo the art lab would then allow for them to be able to just have people will be able to use this space more efficiently and effectively. Right now, they're limited in what they can do without having proper water and other things for like cleaning up and all that, storage and stuff like that. Questions, comments?
Just have a process question, Jill. It's such a small town. I mean, it's like, a lot of us know the executive director, we could text and find out answers to these questions pretty quickly. Is that completely inappropriate? Does everything need to go through you?
I think I would, so the question is whether or not they could kind of like, whether the LPC members could just reach out and ask these questions. We would prefer to have things go through us. Because one, I think mostly because we would want to make sure that everybody on the LPC gets the same exact information. Any other questions, comments? Okay, this is me again. Next project is 51 North Broadway exterior renovation. This is from a private sponsor. This is a group of 7 private unit owners of the condo building. They are looking for funding for the final phase of a complete facade replacement of 4-story mixed-use building with it has an active dental practice, 3 commercial units and 4 residential units. The New York Forward request is specifically for substantial repair of balconies, completion of front entrance steps to match balconies, and repair of the parking lot. The repairs are because of they had to completely redo the facade of the building. They had fixed most of this work. They've done all of this work so far, except for this last phase. They've spent approximately $1.5 million so far. And so they are asking for, the total project cost is $200,000. That's the portion of just the balconies, the front entrance and the parking lot. They are looking for a New York Forward request of $150,000. And the repair of the most of the repair work is because during construction, obviously things got, construction is messy. So it would be to fix that. Yes,
So just confirm, so it's exactly what's written there, right, is what the project is. It's just repairs and like completion of the facade. There's no like expansion or additional units, right?
that's correct. So the question was about, is the project is just what's here. The project is exactly that, is repair of the balconies, completion of front entrance steps, and then repair of, so it would not be expanding the use, or changing the use or anything like that.
So, what's the public benefit then, if these are 7 private owners of these units?
So the question is, what is the public benefit? Per the project sponsor said that the public benefit was that they have used the local workforce and they will continue to do so. They were asked to provide more brick into the design per the village's architectural review board, which they have done. They have complied with New York Stretch Energy Code as is required of them. And that it would, I think most of the 4 residential units, I think, are mostly seniors. So it would allow them to stay in their homes longer. Or it would help them out. Any other questions about this one? All right.
The next project is to do streetscaping along Main Street from Broadway to the waterfront. This is a public project from the Village of Nyack with the goal of making Main Street between Broadway and River Street safer and more attractive to foster better connections between the downtown core and the waterfront. So this would include replacing and expanding sidewalks where feasible, improving the lighting and expanding the seasonal banner and flower decoration programs that are found in other parts of downtown, incorporating art into the sidewalks, adding decorative crosswalks, and installing street trees. With the expectation for, just going back to the lighting, that the lighting would be similar to the antique style lighting along the upland portion of Main Street to create that consistent streetscape throughout the downtown. The total project cost is about $1,036,000 $1,444, with the total New York Forward request about $933,000. Are there any questions on this budget?
We will take public comments towards the end. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
All right, the next project we received was the restoration of the Dunn Greenhouse. This is a nonprofit project, with the project being an exterior renovation of the historic house, including masonry work, new doors and windows, carpentry work, painting, and new electrical. So this project would be portions of phase 3 and 4 of a 6-phase renovation project, which is already underway. The future goal of this project is to provide exhibition space and artists and working studios or nonprofit offices once it's complete. This includes the project scope for New York Forward includes the exterior stabilization for 2 of the walls, facade repair, new roof, and exterior stabilization. Some of the walls is already completed, as well as some of the facade repair, new roof, and interior ventilation. Just to note that this phase, of phase 3 and 4, would not enable the project to open, but it is essential for the interior phases of 5 and 6 to be complete. And they're estimating those phases to be at $600,000, based on some of the estimates they've received so far, and they are applying for grants for those phases at this point. The total project cost for this phase, for these phases, is $656,000, with a total New York Forward request of about $623,000. Are there any questions on this?
Do we know what phase 5 and 6 are? You say they're about $600,000, which is about the cost of 3 and 4, which is the ones they're asking the funding for. Do we know what 5 and 6 involve?
So I believe the 5 and 6 are just the interior portions of building out the interior structure after the stabilization of these 2 phases.
John Green got a CFA award, did they not?
They probably did. I don't know. So they are currently in the process of applying for grants for phases 5 and 6. And so the idea, so their kind of request is that the New York Forward funding, plus their 5% match for doing the exterior now, then they would be able to put them in a better position for applying for grants for phases 5 and 6, which is the interior restoration, and then actually reusing the space, opening up the space, because they'll be able to go to whoever else is funding them and saying, we've been able to shore up the whole facility. The exterior is stable. So stabilizing the exterior will help them be able to fundraise more for the interior portions. So they are applying for grants for phases 5 and 6 from they were doing EPF funding, which is parks, right? State parks, and also private foundation. The projected opening date is in May of 2029.
Oh, I wouldn't wait, just keep going.
Even Elmwood doesn't stop.
Yeah, Elmwood doesn't stop.
So 5 and, okay, I think you answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is for 3 and 4, 5 and 6 are future phases that would be funded separately, not through New York Forward. Any other questions, comments?
Sounds like phase 1 and 2, and you see a pay funding or.
Potentially, the phases 1 or 2 might have had CFA funding. Phases 1 and 2 were for other types of exterior work.
I was just thinking if there was overlap.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you said they're currently applying for phase 5 and 6.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, I'll just note they listed a variety of different grants that they've applied for, some from the Preservation League of New York State, some from Environmental Protection Fund, as Joe mentioned, through the Historic Preservation Grant, and various other foundations. They received Bridge Community Fund Benefit Fund, Daughters of the American Revolution, so they pieced together a number of funding sources for previous work.
Right, any other questions? All right, so we're on to Angel Nyack renovation of sanctuary space. This is a nonprofit sponsor, the Angel Nyack. They're looking to renovate the building's former sanctuary space to include new HVAC system, flooring, new millwork with ambient lighting and electrical work to facilitate use for arts and performance programs, weddings, and other events. So this is another multi-phase project. This is altogether their entire project. Redoing the space is 9 phases. They are requesting funding just for phase 5, although we do have a question, it might also be part of phase 6. We have to clarify that with them. But it is primarily phase 5, and this is the just for the sanctuary space. Office updates, roof repairs, garden and picnic room upgrades were already complete. So phases 1 and 2 did the roof repairs, garden and picnic room upgrades. And then phase 3 bathroom is currently underway. And then phase 4, which is installation of theatrical lights and sound equipment, is already underway. So those are actively being done right now. The total project cost, again, this is for phase 5, is about $2 million. They are requesting $950,000. So they are requesting 46% of their total project cost for this phase. They have said that the project sponsor has conveyed that they're being able to do this would allow them to be able to open up the sanctuary space for private weddings and other events, celebratory events. That's their way of making money, but then also for nonprofit use, which is to be able to have arts and concert performances. So they did provide a rendering of what the sanctuary space would potentially look like. And they also said that this phase could continue to go through even if the other phases did not. They would still be fine with just this stopping here at this point. But they don't expect to do that. Questions, comments?
As someone who's been to events there in the summer, the HVAC system would be a very good upgrade to that building. It gets very warm. They're very clever though. They hand out fans and the fans say, please support our efforts to get an HVAC system. So this is phase 5, and this would be mostly renovation of that main consumer area, the party area, the performance area, as well as the area where they would have weddings, HVAC, as well as remove of the pews and all that sort of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, and then it would make it into more, they'd be able to host different types of things, because they wouldn't have the pews, they could have more flexible seating, and table arrangements. And then the picnic room is the room that the LPC was in, for our first LPC meeting. But as we made clear, we will not be having any more LPC meetings there because of the potential conflict of interest. All right, any other questions? Right.
The next project we received was for a new housing development and gallery space at 17 South Broadway. This project would be located on the parking lot behind the Key Bank buildings. It's facing Piermont. So this is a private project proposed by Greenland Project, Broadway Remsen LLC. It would include private infill residential development of loft-style artist apartments and gallery space on an existing underutilized parking lot. This project would be approximately 3 stories, 30,000 square feet, with 25 units, mainly of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. It would be a mix of market rate and affordable units. And then it would include gallery and studio space for rotating exhibits and workshops. The total project cost is $10.5 million, with a total near forward request of $1.5 million. The project sponsor has engaged an architect and a land use attorney, and they are working in preliminary site design and permitting, but it will still require subdivision and site plan approval. Parking will be underground along the slope So that will be included on the site. It will also include some streetscape improvements. As I mentioned, they will have an art gallery space for which they will hire someone. And then the project will include at least 10% of affordable rented at 40 to 60% of area median income for the local code. And I think those are the big highlights. Any questions or comments on this project?
So is it? Developable? How do they do that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What are they specifically asking for with money to construct?
Oh, the question is, what are they asking for money for? The $1.5 million would go towards construction.
No, so all the pre-development, this is just to actually build the 3-story unit.
Yes, the question again was, just to clarify, so the 1.5 million would go specifically towards construction of the building. Any other pre-development costs they would incur, they're asking for 14% of the total project cost. The rest they have conveyed to us that they have, through secured financing or like from their own private reserves, but then also, they have secured project financing for the remainder of it, so construction loans and other types of loan funding.
Yes.
And they have the construction, also at the end, pre-construction costs and part of that.
Yes, the question was about what the $10.5 million is. The $10.5 million includes, is the entire project from ground up. So that would include soft costs, pre-construction. They already own, so it would not include, they already own the lots, so it would not include, acquisition costs, but it does include, any type of design, permitting, all that kind of thing, plus construction.
You say how many affordable at the end?
They said they said approximately 10%. So they didn't provide an exact number, but they said 10%, which would be income. So these, as opposed to the fire department units, as we discussed, would not be, affordable per NIAX code. These would be affordable per NIAX code. So they would have to be in compliance with the village of Nyack.
Just to clarify, they have to allocate more than 10% to affordable in order to, that's the code requirement for new construction. So it would be on 25 units, it would be at least 3 units and maybe some requirement for more than that, but that's the basic requirement. That's the village requirement. This is not otherwise an affordable project, as far as I can tell.
No, it is not. All of units would be, like artist loft style, but you would not be required to be an artist. So you, especially for the affordable units, it would just be straight income requirements.
They tell you what the rent prices would be?
The rent prices, they said right now, they were looking at the range of 3,200 for the market rate, not for the affordable units.
Say they own the property and they have most of the money. Are they doing this whether they get state money or not?
Well, that's always a tricky question to ask. The question is whether they would do this without state money. So we find that usually we ask the project sponsors and it's hard to get an honest answer as to whether they would say yes. So they are, this is Breland projects. They do have other, especially in Jersey City, they have quite a few project developments. So they said to us that they needed this. This is like gap funding, that last mile type funding that they need. So that's why they're requesting it.
These are very well-regarded developers that I know they've come to us to talk to us about it. To answer your question, they're always going to say that they need this money in order to be able to complete the project and do the project, but I think it's a good project that I think will be very successful, whether or not it would get the funding from the forward grant. It was planned well before the forward grant was granted tonight.
No person?
Yes, just last question. If they do go through, and we have to find the breakdown, are they going to define exactly what development means and what development means?
Oh, so the question is, would they define exactly what the 1.5 million would be used for, we can ask them that to clarify that.
That would match up to the reimbursement. So submitting for reimbursements based on the construction.
Yes, the question is whether or not if they come back to us and say that we're looking to fund X, Y, and Z, then when they actually go through the reimbursement process, then that requirement would line up with the state contract, and yes, it would. So, and for any project before the project sponsors enters into a contract with the state, and they agree upon what would be funded specifically to move forward. But yeah, we can go back and ask the question. Any other questions about this one? Okay, next up is Rockland County Pride mural.
Bye.
That was the next one, no problem.
Before you leave, can I ask you actually? See, when you were explaining,
Oh, yeah.
maybe I should leave too. Cause although I don't need to leave, but the elders thing was not what and I saw maybe a change on that.
Like if there's a problem in the synopsis of this, if it's not quite accurate, is that? But I only know that because I'm part of it. Like when you want us to not say that,
Can I ask what it is?
like it's misstating that it's not just about LGBTQ elders, it's about social justice history of non-acts. That was important to say.
Thank you. And this is the Rockland County Pride mural. The project sponsor is Rockland County Pride. It's to paint a mural on 3 sides of the existing Pride Center building. So you can see in here, that's not the mural, but just that it would cover 3 sides. So it would actually cover a lot more than I think what your typical mural would. They're looking for funding for design development with community input. 1 to 2 community paint days, mural dedication to LGBTQ plus elders of NIAX, plus the project sponsor just clarified that it would also be for social justice and other issues. So it's not just for murals, not just dedicated to LGBT plus elders, but also feature a companion documentary, zine, or web gallery documentation. The total project cost is $89,660. The total mural forward request is $80,700.
So this was alluded to earlier, but so this project is for 3 sides of the building, but I know we didn't get to it yet, but there's another project, but I thought the Pride Center was one of the locations, so.
Yes, I will clarify that. So the question is about, there's another project which you'll see, it comes a little further down the line. That is for up to 5 murals throughout Nyack. And they originally had proposed this site. However, we clarified that that Rockland County Pride prefers to do their own mural and will not be partnering with them on that mural. So there's no double dipping. This is a completely separate project from that project.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? No. Right. Okay, next project is waterfront restaurant and open space.
So this would be a public project sponsored by the village. This would include the construction of a new 1-story casual restaurant building with an outdoor dining deck and public open space with seating, landscaping, and game areas. To activate the waterfront and provide connections with the marina. As you all may know, this is on the site of a former restaurant that was damaged in, I believe, storm.
Superstorm Sandy.
Thank you. And then eventually demolished. So this would include approximately 1,750 square feet of indoor seating and then 2,500 square feet of outdoor seating. And then would have adjacent areas of landscape park, include decking, lawn, and an area for games. This would also include the replacement of 80 feet of bulkhead to stabilize this site. And then the plan is for the restaurant to be operated by a concession license holder. The total project cost is about 3.96 million, with the total New York Port request of $1,250,000. The village would build out the site and building, shell and public bathrooms, and then would lease the space to a private restaurant who would then do the build out of the interior. Are there any questions or comments?
The image you see on the side is just a concept plan, so that is by no means, part of the project would involve having to hire an architect and, an engineer, and landscape architect to actually design the sign. This is just, a site, this is a concept of what it could be to help with the cross destination. Any questions or comments?
Yellow would be.
Bill, could you? I know I have a little one here, but can you identify what those, letters are there?
Oh, sure. So this would be the building, this would be the waterfront restaurant. And you can see the marina is back here. This would be like an outdoor patio space with like an awning over it, to allow for lights and shade. Sidewalk repair and redoing the sidewalks. I think this is more outdoor seating. This would be a little lawn area with, some, maybe some trees and landscaping. And then there would be decking all throughout. That's kind of what the pink area is. Landscape book garden area over here, and then this is a potential bocce ball court. Again, this is all, you know, somewhat subject to change, if you will, because it's a concept and final design has not occurred yet, but this was kind of a concept of what it could be.
It's helpful, thank you.
Sure.
Just to clarify, it could also be a cornhole court. Not wedded to the bocce. It's more of a
I think you need 60 feet. for
every person's sport. Yeah, just so people can see, the blue would be the indoor seating. Just above the blue, where you kind of can make out that there's umbrellas, would be the outdoor seating. The yellow would be where the kitchen is, the dark blue would be where the bathroom is.
And again, the village would be paying for the open space, for the public open space and also for the building shell. But the interior will be mostly paid for by whoever the concession company is.
Who would maintain the external?
The external would be, let's see.
It'd be part of the license.
Would be part of the owner?
The expectation would be the maintenance of it would be part of the license to the person, or the person to it.
So there was reference in the profile that, well, you know, like there was interest from a restaurant at one point. Is that, and I don't know if I can ask this now, but well, you're here.
Yeah.
Is that, and then they didn't go through with it, right? Is that because? What?
The question was,
Taco?
Yeah, there was reference to it in the profile, and I don't know if that's something we can talk about now, but it wasn't the application, so I don't know if it's because,
yeah, that was
like, was this other part of the?
it was not part of this project. But if you want, you can go ahead and explain the history of it, but it was separate from this process, right?
Maybe my question is more like, if that didn't go through, should we be concerned? And again, I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but it's what's on my mind.
Okay.
Is, and knowing, you know, some of the bigger, like, restaurant spaces in the village are currently vacant, again, for reasons I may not know. Is there concern about, you know, the viability of project like this?
Just for the public, the question is about whether or not this is viable in terms of would there be enough interest from restaurateur to come in and operate the space. That's the question, right?
Yes.
Essentially.
I won't speak to that because I think that's campaigning too much, but I will say, with regard to the question you asked about Bartaco. Bartaco expressed an interest when there was still a building there. And what eventually happened was both for a combination of something completely unrelated with their business in Westchester, which they had some sort of There's some sort of problem there that kind of made them not want to focus on this. But the other problem is the building was in terrible shape. So that's why it was ultimately knocked down. So it's a different level of, it's unrelated to this, I would say, from what the public interest would be.
So this, yeah.
This is completely new.
I will say that, so the village would have to go through an RFP process, or would have to go through a process of selecting, somebody to come in and enter into a lease with. So they have not started that process yet. They're waiting to see what happens in New York forward. But I believe there has been, in terms of, there's not been a full-on market study. But my understanding is that the village has talked to different restaurant owners to understand the feasibility of this. Is that a fair assessment to say?
We've had periodic interest from restaurateurs coming in. The problem has been that they would not want to put money in to build a restaurant without something more than, it's not even a lease, it's a license, because it's considered parkland. So we're not allowed to lease the property, we're only allowed to license it. And people who have been interested in putting restaurants there aren't willing to put money into a build out for a license to use it like a concession. They would want to own the building, or at least have a long-term lease on the building.
Are there any environmental risks considering the first one that damaged, like is there anything?
The question is about environmental risks, since the site has been damaged before. So part of the project does include replacement of the 80 feet of the bulkhead. And I think that they would be building within, they would have to abide by any like floodplain requirements. So they would be building within the required floodplain.
And the other thing, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, is I don't believe that the first restaurant was damaged by flooding. I believe it was damaged by a boat hitting.
Yeah, a lot of well, I think they probably had some wind damage, but the real damage was there was a boat that got blown into it during the storm. But the building itself was not in the best of shape during that process. When it was looked at, there were a lot of things that would have to get renovated. It just wasn't worth it. It was easier just to tear it down and start from scratch.
So projection in the group seats,
Is there?
inside and outside, how roughly seats are?
Oh, number of seats? No, we don't have that yet, but we can ask about how much this could accommodate. More questions?
What would the process be for those who, my curiosity, for those interested in perhaps, getting the license to be, to the rest, yeah, like, how will the village go about picking and choosing who or what would essentially go there? Is it gonna be pizza, lobster rolls, or
Right.
alcohol? And, I'm just curious what that process is.
The question is, what is the process for selecting restaurateur? And the village is not at that stage yet, so I don't know, but we can ask. Any other questions? All right, next up is Rockland YMCA renovation and new public plaza. The description is renovation of historic facility plus creation of welcome plaza to upgrade building and provide new public plaza space. They include restoration of the building facade, installation of high efficiency windows and replacement of steam boiler, interior accessibility improvements, including a new elevator, redesign of front sidewalk and entry as public space with outdoor seating, hydration stations, include lighting, landscaping, and sunshade. It is, even though we have a picture of the building with its current main entrance, the idea is to move the main entrance they have another entrance that's on Broadway, that's kind of off the picture. It would be it's a secondary access. It would be to use that now as the main entrance, because currently right now there's no acceptance. Entering the building from this entrance, you have to go up those front stairs, and then I think there's other stairs inside. So they would move it so that the main entrance, so that it would be more accessible. The total cost is $3.4 million with a newer forward request of $1.8 million. The project also includes structural reinforcement, asbestos abatement, electrical upgrades, new fire sprinkler system, and plumbing updates. They're also applying for a DASNY and New York State Parks funding, also from funding from the county IDA. They have engaged with the design firm with experience in historic preservation.
Do we, I mean, I think the most interesting part of this is a lot of its maintenance. The most interesting part is this public space that they would want to create. Do we have any rendering of that? Because I'm having trouble imagining it, given the limited sidewalk space there.
We don't, and so we were, Susan and I actually walked by the building earlier today and did kind of a double take when we saw the entrance they were talking about. So I think that would be one of the questions that we're gonna ask them is how exactly this public space would work, because there's not a lot of space there.
So you have the same,
Yes, we have the same question. So sorry I didn't get that answered ahead of time. We didn't quite understand the project enough to ask.
The word plaza seems a little ambitious.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? All right, next up is the Nyack Center renovation, and we have, yes.
Okay. Don't say anything.
Next time we're gonna put you in there.
we get your chair out there.
All right, the Nyack Center renovation is a nonprofit project, and it will modernize the auditorium sound and lighting systems to create professional grade space and outdoor lighting. So this includes the renovation of the stage, installation of new lighting and sound equipment and interior painting, as well as renovation of historic light fixtures and installation of new outdoor lighting to illuminate stained glass. The total project cost is $153,000 and they are requesting $138,000 from New York Forward. Are there any questions or comments on this project?
Is there any projection on how many more events and activities they could hold and what sort of revenue that might generate for the building?
The question is whether there are any projections on, whether they would like, how many more events they would be able to hold and if there's any potential for, revenue from the new space. And we do not have the answer for that, so we will ask them. Any other questions, comments? Yeah. Next up is Morris Kitchen Restaurant Expansion. This is a private sponsor, Morris Kitchen, which is an existing restaurant on South Broadway. They are looking to expand their space with a second floor expansion of the existing restaurant. Approximately 1,200 square feet of dining space, including a 10-seat bar and 7 to 8 new tables and 4 bathrooms. 1,600 square feet of outdoor terrace with wood decking, and it could accommodate approximately 16 tables and a lounge area. You can see they provided a rendering that would show right now the building cuts off after that first floor, so this would be that second addition that's steep back to include that front patio there. The total project cost is approximately $1 million, and they are seeking. They are required to provide 35% match because it's over $750,000, which they will comply with. So approximately $673,000 as the newer forward request. Questions about this one?
The packet indicates that the applicant does not own the building, owns the restaurant, but not the building, but is in the process of acquiring the building and some sort of lease to own. Can we ask whether what conditions have to be satisfied in order for them to execute ownership of the building? Because it's like in the next year, they're supposed to own it. They're supposed to own it during the course of this process. So I'd be curious as to just, how certain is that to happen?
Good question. Yes, we can ask that.
I mean, you require site control to say that.
Yes, we do require site control. There are, as long as, if there's a pathway to acquiring the site, so if they're already, if it's not just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna put in a bid on it, I haven't really talked to the owner or anything like that, then that's kind of a no, but if there's a pathway to acquiring the building, then it's eligible.
Could they not do this with just a lease, a long-term lease?
And they could do it with a long-term lease, as long as they had, express permission from the building owner.
So they don't actually have to own it, they just have to have a property interest in it with the approval of the property owner. But the
Correct,
fact that they're in the process of acquiring it, I think is interesting, I'd just like to pin that down as to
yes.
whether it's gonna happen.
Yes, so we can ask about that, and then otherwise, if that was uncertain, then we would require that there was some sort of written agreement with the building owner that they would go along with this.
I have another question on this, which we could ask before the next meeting, to get some sort of just, it doesn't have to be in a pain, but an initial impression of the zoning issues that might be involved with adding a second floor.
Okay, they thought that they would not have any issues, so we will ask them.
I mean, I don't know, I'm just wondering if we can get the village administrator to get something from the building department as to whether this is as of right, whether this is something that would have to have a special permit, whether this is, you know, just to know whether that would be a problem. I don't know if it would be, and I don't know if it would, you know, we could, whether that would all be worked out, but it's worth at least asking the question about it and asking the village about it.
Sure, we can ask the sponsor to reach out to the village owner, yes.
Yeah, I'd also be interested in if there any communities close by that have, I think there's a spot across the river that has a rooftop restaurant, but it's just such a wonderful feature to have. It would be very, I think it would be a backup for this.
It's my understanding that there was a variance issue with that. I think it came up with the old, at the time, Vertigo, which turned hands to up, and I think that their applications were put in for a Time Hotel. And maybe even connected with like the back of the old Avita, what is it now?
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Some of those references might be to requests that have been made to do dining on the rooftop. This would not be done, this would be a new floor, not necessarily the rooftop.
It doesn't have outdoor.
But outdoor.
But has outdoor seating, but it's adjacent to an actual floor on the building.
I got it. It's making a floor. It's not it's not standing on the roof.
Right.
It's not just a rooftop.
I see it.
Yeah, I can show you one here, so kind of so the building currently goes up to here.
Yeah.
If you can see that, so the outdoor seating element would be here on this like decking. The second floor would be stepped back from the building front to allow for that outdoor
Yeah.
seating in the front. So it wouldn't be rooftop, it would be, yeah.
I guess that would
Yeah,
be.
terrace.
I mean,
yeah,
I
terrace.
would love to see that rooftop thing lifted. It'd be great to have some rooftop. parking, but,
I'm just gonna, yeah,
Just want to make
that
sure
was,
that it wasn't an issue.
I just want, yeah, I want to make clear, I'd like to get the question about the viability of building a second floor there. But I want to clarify for you that there's a difference between adding a second floor and trying to do rooftop dining, which rooftop dining had other issues that were not building code issues so much as issues with neighboring buildings and things like that. They were trying to do that. And they did get permission, by the way, at the hotel, but they just haven't exercised it.
So would the footprint of the second floor be smaller than the entire footprint, like centered as
Yes.
if, so it would be surrounding?
Yeah, the second floor would be,
Got
the footprint of the second floor looks to be, I don't know exactly how much, but it looks to be almost like half.
Potential
Of the
river
building.
views on the.
That was my
side.
question.
Okay.
What's the question?
Can you see the river from the second floor?
They said that they can, they think it would open up, views. I can't.
It might be helpful if they could have any kind of rendering of what it would look like from there.
We can ask if they have a rendering of that. I
They
don't know.
might, well,
I'm not sure if they
literally
do.
go upstairs and take a picture from the roof, you know, they can
Right.
see the view.
Sure.
See if anything's blocking it.
Yeah.
Just some amber.
So the question was whether the project sponsor can take a picture from the roof to see if they're actually.
I'd love
do it there.
to have that.
Let's go up there.
LTC field trip, coming up.
Bullshit, here we go.
Any other questions, comments on this?
So the next project is the murals proposal from Hudson Valley Mural Arts. This would be a nonprofit project. So this would include mural design, community engagement, artist student mentorship, mural painting, and arts education. Potential sites would include the Modern Druid at 60 South Broadway, the Parker at 40 South Franklin, the Arpia at 23 Depew, and Nyack Fresh Market at 119 Main Street. I want to emphasize that these are all potentials. They have the project sponsor has had conversations with all of these sites at varying different levels of advance. The total project cost is $200,000 with a total New York Port request of $150,000. The project sponsor has received a grant from IR Tourism that will support community outreach and documentation efforts, as well as a grant from Arts Westchester for materials. A lot of the New York Port requests would be going towards the artists. Are there any questions or comments on this project? And just as a reminder, in your packet, you all felt that the Rockland mural or the Pride mural was included in this. That is now a separate project.
Where's the
The one
RPO?
that says potential, what's the name? The owner of Franklin.
Oh, so they have entered into preliminary agreements with 60 South Broadway and 40 South Franklin Street. So they have reached out to all four owners, but with those two owners in particular, they have actually gone towards like an agreement with them. They have had discussions with 23 Depew Avenue and 119 Main Street, but they have not entered into any type of agreement with them yet.
I just want to clarify, 23 Depew, I do not believe is the address for DR Pilla.
Oh, so maybe that's wrong.
It might be a different location. I'm just looking to see what it is.
That's the Parker.
Parker.
No, it's
Oh.
Depew. The Parker's not on Depew, is
Yeah,
it? Is that,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
the proper address? Not
Yeah.
different? Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
both of them.
There's two, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we will clarify the addresses.
Yeah, because it might be the Parker might be. Oh, the Parker's there, okay, that's the correct address for the Parker, so I don't know which way, but DR Pilla is definitely one of the ones that has. At least been the meetings that I've been in with the people from the Hudson Valley Mural Arts. Who was interested in putting one on the residential building next to the DR Pilla building at Franklin and Main, just a little bit up Main Street.
Okay.
So you would see it coming down Main Street toward Franklin.
Oh.
That's where there's a big building side there.
The bankers.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this question, and I just want to put it out there. The Pride request is $80,000 for one mural. This is $200,000 for 4 murals. There's a difference per mural cost, but I know, and this might be the answer to the question, that the Pride mural is basically 3.
Yeah,
It's a much larger
I think
scope.
that's why, because of the scope of
That's what I
cover three sides, this would be more standard narrow one side. Yes, make this.
It's just a 5-year-old program, not determine the whole 5 locations, or if they can't make deals with the other places, as they.
So the question is, if they can't come up with agreements with the other locations, would this be less than 3 murals? That's a question that we will ask them. I know because we changed the title to up to 5 murals as opposed to 5 murals that you saw in your packets because of the confusion with the Pride Center. So that being taken out, they said it could be potentially just 4 murals if they are not able to find another place. So we will ask them if they are not able to enter into agreements with the other 2 locations, what their plan would be. I would assume that their mural forward request would obviously decrease if they can't, so we will clarify with them.
Cost per mural, so it's 160,000.
Yes, yeah, so the question is if there's a cost per mural, and I believe there is. I think that's how they determine the cost for it. Any other questions? All right, village branding, marketing and wayfinding. This is the project, public project. The village of Nyack is the project sponsor. The village proposes to hire consultants to assess and create new village branding, marketing and wayfinding strategy. We also include branding design and templates, design of marketing materials, purchase and analysis of consumer data for marketing purposes, and design and installation of wayfinding signage. The total project cost is $500,000. The village is requesting $450,000. Questions on this one? Again, the village has not engaged with any consultants yet. They would go through an RFP process to select vendors for this. Okay.
Questions, yes?
All right, so next one, yeah.
I speak on behalf of Laura.
It only wants this.
Yeah, it'd be everything. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so the next project we have is the Plan Your Visit Tourism digital site. This is a nonprofit project sponsored by the Nyack Chamber of Commerce. And this will be a digital site to promote Nyack visitor experiences with an interactive map and downloadable itineraries based on different types of interests. So this has been informed by extensive research that is already underway with the chamber working with the marketing professor and his team on visitor surveys, and they're also in the additional planning stages of doing additional research with the group and focus group studies to help inform this. The total project cost is $74,566, and the total New York Board request is just under $71,000. So as you know, Jill said earlier that there were some projects that fell below that $75,000 threshold. This one is just below that. But one of the reasons to note that we included it as eligible is because it does not necessarily it does not fall into the small project fund, which is primarily a capital program. And does meet kind of the other eligibility rules of the New York Board. So we've included it in here for your consideration. Are there any questions?
So you mean website as opposed to a digital sign?
Yeah.
Yes, correct. It would be a website. And there's other examples of it. One of them was that they provided. One was Tour Chautauqua, thank you. Ulster County, and then the I Love New York website as well. We're kind of like local examples. The chamber would maintain the site on a quarterly basis. And they would incorporate and align this project with updated village branding if that project goes through.
And so to clarify, this would be for the development of the initial site and the build out of that site and layout, but would not be for ongoing maintenance. As Jill said, that would be managed by the chamber.
Is this replacing the Visit Nyack and the chamber website?
I don't know that it's replacing. I think it would be an add-on, but we can clarify that.
Yeah, I don't think the idea is to replace it. I think the idea, it's to have a very dedicated page that would be really for people on the ground to say, where am I and what's nearby?
Got it, like
Yeah, like a virtual representation of where interactive maps.
So I mean, I think it's a really good question, and maybe it's the next meeting we find out how this might differ from the three other sites we currently have. This is something they tell us about.
That's a question we can ask them. The question is how would this differ from the three other sites that the chamber and the village have? I think the idea is that it would have an interactive map, it would have a downloadable itinerary. So you're in Nyack for just one day, or you're in Nyack for 2 days. These are things that you could do. Would also have an updated, just from looking at some of the examples it provided, I think it would also include like an updated list of restaurants and shops and other type amenities.
I just mentioned, you said the chamber would be doing the maintenance.
Yes, that's what they indicated on their application. So the Chamber of Commerce would be the organization updating the website and maintaining it.
Question, is there anything that would prevent from a logistical, legal point of view from something like this being incorporated into the wayfinding that's part of the village project? Is there anything that would, in other words, the village building the website with, in conjunction with the chamber as part of the public project? Or would that be not allowed because the chamber is a private entity that would be, or a nonprofit entity that would be included within a part of the project?
I don't think that there's anything that would be precluding a partnership between the two entities.
Okay.
Or the next one coming up too.
We could ask for
Well,
it. The branding with the.
It feels like they overlap.
Yeah.
Right.
there's a little overlap between the two, and this one, and this next one too, so.
Yeah, I feel like
You have to-
probably all put our brains together and have something.
Any other, yeah, sorry, that's your call. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so used to doing it from this chair.
Any other questions?
You have to leave and then come back.
Oh, yeah.
Just send them back.
Oh, yeah, send it back in.
Hopefully, when it's still fine. You need that overall. budget,
Yeah.
and it's beyond the world, general policy. Such a thing, let's see, let's see. So,
Yeah,
like,
that's what we're reviewing. It's kind of like what we have right now, 4 cents for these students.
All right, so the next project we see is the Tale of the Tailless Little Eddie Hopper, and this is a nonprofit project sponsored by Maureen's Community Main Stage. And this would be a wayfinding enforcement initiative, including 12 3D printed rabbit sculptures at key locations along a route through downtown. Each rabbit would link digitally via a QR code to a child-friendly stories, historical facts, and local event information, with the goal of, having people walk this trail throughout the downtown. Again, similar, this project is less than $75,000, but eligible because it's not eligible through the small project fund. And just to note, the statute that they're anticipated would be bronze and would last about 20 to 50 years. And the project would include the development of the story, the recording of any of the voices, and then the installation of the sections. Did I miss anything, Jill?
Did you say total project cost?
The total project cost is $43,400. The total new report request is $41,230. So 95% of the total project cost. Are there any questions on this?
Is Maureen's a nonprofit?
Yes, I believe they are.
Oh, they have a nonprofit entity, an arm, you could call them Maureen's Main Stage, separate, it's a separate entity.
From the.
Just related to I'm sure there's cross management. But it's not Maureen's, it's Maureen's Main Stage, which is a nonprofit,
Separate from the Jasper.
separate from the JASCO, legally separate, yeah.
And is this connected to the Edward Hopper House?
Yes.
No.
It is,
I meant this project.
it is connected in that they have reached out, and I think they did have, they might have mentioned that they would be like a partner. So I think Maureen's Community Main Stage would be the primary sponsor, but they would probably partner with, the Edward Hopper House.
So with the QR code, is it on an app? With it to a website?
Yeah, the question is whether the QR code would be, it would have to go on to, it would probably be to a website that would have all the stories.
So they would have their own separate website, all the instead of like, it would
Correct.
just be specific.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the website would, just for clarification, the website would be just for the Tale of the Tailless Little Eddie Hopper, and sorry, I can't say it without laughing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there's a theory that people are getting, app fatigue. And they're overwhelmed by the amount of times you have to click on QR code to go to this, to learn this, and go to this one, to learn that one. So we just need to be mindful of that because it's starting to weird on people.
I will just clarify, I don't think they're talking about doing an app, I think they're talking about doing it as a web-based, but it doesn't have to download anything.
Right.
Like,
yeah, but-
an app has to be downloaded, which is different.
Yeah, but just, I think people are trying to now submerge themselves in the experience, not to immerse look at their phones, because of like the data we're getting, so maybe if it's in one central location, you can decide how to do it.
I think it would be kind of like if you go to a museum now and sometimes they have like, for further information, click on this QR code. So you would click on the QR code and you would hear the digital story. You would hear like a voice story of the little Eddie Hopper and how it relates to the statue.
I do think the idea is to get people going and walking around to find each of the statues and then so there's an integration of the physical as well as the virtual.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Any questions, comments? We're on the last one, you guys. We made it.
Was it bad? It's like 5:30, 2 hours. That's a bad.
All right, this is the small project fund. This is the sponsor will be the Village of Nyack. And this would be to create a fund dedicated to small business assistance and capital improvements. The fund would be open to owners of commercial and mixed-use properties within Nyack, New York Forward area, plus tenants with permission from property owners. The funds could go towards interior and exterior building renovations for commercial or mixed-use buildings, upper story residential improvements in mixed-use buildings, business assistance, which would be likely like a permanent commercial machinery or equipment installation. So think like maybe not new tables and chairs, but if it's like they need a new like oven or something like that, that would enable them to offer something different. They could apply for that. Could also be used for soft costs for capital improvements. So that's architectural, engineering, environmental type costs. It could also be used for public art, such as murals. This is a co-investment approach. It grants up to approximately $75,000, so that I think it could go up to as much as $100,000. And then recipients are required to contribute 25% of the total cost. So total project cost is $367,500. The total New York Forward request is $300,000. A portion of that budget would be 10%, so $30,000 would be used for, and the village would have to hire, as per the program rules, regulations would have to hire a grant administrator. So there's like a third party neutral grant administrator, so it's not all the village to do this. And so that $270,000 would that be or the grants, and then the 60, and then whatever's left over is the 25% match from the sponsors. Questions on this one?
So the process for this would be, so this, once this is approved by all of us, that's great, the village gets that 300,000, then what's the process following that? I was a little unclear on that.
Sure, and then so the process following that would be the village would have to set up a fund. And so they would. You actually want to take this one?
So if the planning committee puts it forward to the state chooses to award it, the village would then procure that grant administrator, and then they would set up a committee to then put out this kind of new call for projects, but within specifically the parameters of the small project fund. And then, projects would come in, this committee would evaluate the projects to receive. And then they would go through, architectural and environmental reviews and construction.
Got it.
The top line description of the small business assistance and capital improvements, is that include nonprofits?
Yes, it would, yes, nonprofits would be able to as well.
Is there a minimum grant request?
There is not, but one can be established. I think are there any minimum grant?
So there are not any minimum grant requests, but generally we advise, thinking $25,000 is a minimum because you do want the project to be impactful enough. And, facade projects are hard to do for less than that are going to really make that change. So that's generally one of the parameters I've seen in previous communities.
And if this project does proceed forward, the LPC could determine if there was a cap or if there was a minimum that they would like to see. And the next step in this is that if this project proceeds after today, then we would work with the village and then probably the Chamber of Commerce to determine the interest in the program. So that involves obtaining letters of interest from businesses and building owners and other organizations who might be interested. It wouldn't be an application because there's no fund yet. It would just be a letter of interest saying, if this was available to me, I would be interested in a project such as X, Y, and Z. Right, any other questions? Right. So this is the table showing the entire, all 21 projects. We have a total project cost of 29.9 million and a total NEMA forward request of 12,274,000. So our next on our agenda is a project goal alignment activity. I think before we do that, we're going to open it up to the public and have our public comments. But I would ask all OPC members to please stay because we are then going to do an alignment activity that will help you determine which projects you want to move forward and proceed through the process. So with that in mind, I'm going to open it up to the public. We have a 15-minute public comment period. I will ask again that project sponsors, I know you have so much you want to say, but just out of respect for the LPC and for all project sponsors, we ask that you not talk about your project.
At this meeting,
At this meeting, yes.
next meeting.
Potentially, so we'll talk about that. So with that, are there any public questions, comments, concerns? Yes, this gentleman right here.
I just have a question. This, like the totality of potential projects, is there anything else? I know that looking at the recap, that like the public workshop, things that people have suggested, like, oh, this is important, that's important. A lot of things that are mentioned there don't really fall under the purview of these things, so I'm just wondering, is that those sort of things something that you look for potential funding in the future from other sources, or is that other things that could be included in these projects that it's not going to be?
So the question is, for other public comments that have been received about potential project ideas, and other community needs that have been voiced. For the ones that are not shown in the projects here is what is kind of the avenue for that. So if anybody has a project idea, any that we've received, we have, and all the public comments that we received, we have given to the village for their consideration. We have also any that we get through email. We haven't received any phone calls yet, but and do the same for them. We have forwarded those onto the village for their consideration. And there will also be any projects that proceed through public meeting number, LPC meeting number 4, there will be a public workshop. And the public will see all of the projects. They will be provided a project description and they will get to give input on the projects. And at that point, project sponsors, that input is then given to project sponsors and to the village. And then the village can make make amendments, or any project sponsor can make changes to their project based on those public comments. So it's up to the project sponsor to do so, but they can certainly amend their project based on what they hear from public feedback. Does that answer the question correctly?
Just to clarify, so like that sort of input was taken into account by the village is putting forth the public projects that we do there. Is there like, can citizens do some on the village about things that we think are important for them to add to it, or is that just?
Oh, no, I think absolutely. So I think the public can still continue to provide input on any of these projects. So,
He's also asking about things that he does not feel have been addressed by
Yes.
the projects. Can they come to the village about them? The answer is obviously yes, yes. Of course you can.
The village cannot create new projects, entirely new projects, but if it was something that is because open call for projects is closed, but if it's something that could be incorporated into one of the projects that they've already submitted, then yes, then that can be added.
But I think he's also asking, outside this process,
Yes.
can we, yes, so there's obviously other avenues for funding and whatnot, if there's other
Yes.
projects. Because there were some things that were not, that people brought up that were not responsive, a lot of maintenance projects, a lot of stuff that was not downtown revitalization oriented.
Sure.
Isn't that part of the logic of the small projects fund too? Some things that kind of didn't really get properly addressed, but could be.
Well, the small project fund though would not be for our public projects. It would be for our private and nonprofit projects, so.
They might need a public need.
That's true.
That's what he might be talking about. He might be talking about
Sure,
sort of things that were brought up at these public meetings that
yeah,
may not be articulated in one of the public, private, or nonprofit projects that were submitted.
mhm. And then, did I have was there another hand over here?
That's a more technical question. Are there any restrictions on starting work on these projects?
Oh, yes, yes. Are there any restrictions on starting work before the awards? Yes, there are. Thank you. The New York Forward does not fund anything that does not reimburse for anything that was paid for pre-award. So any pre-award cost would not be reimbursed. So if a project sponsor, so we have been very clear with that to the project sponsors, that if you start a project now, just know you will not get reimbursed for anything pre-award. The awards are expected to be announced so that this process with the LPC will conclude in December with the LPC meeting number 5 in October, or if there's a LPC meeting number 6 would be in November. At that meeting, 5 or 6, they would determine the final slate of projects, and then there would be a month of us furiously writing project profiles. And then that document, a strategic investment plan, gets submitted to the state. The state would then take that full list of projects, which totals between $6 and $8 million worth of projects. And then they would choose which projects, adding up to $4.5 million to fund. And then that process of the state choosing which projects to fund typically occurs around like late spring, things like May, June is when you would expect to see. That's when the awards would be announced. And so anything paid for by the project sponsor before that would not be reimbursed. And we've even told project sponsors that have asked about this, that we recommend not spending any money until actually entering into the contract with the states, which takes some extra time. Yes, the gentleman here had his hand up first, and then we'll get to your questions.
So the decision to submit $6,800, is that your decision or is that your state's recommendation?
That's New York State's recommend. So the question is the $6 to $8 million, if that's an us thing, or if it's a program thing. It's a program. So there are not quite 20, but close to 20 New York Forward communities in the state. There's 1 or 2 per 3 even per region. That is an across the board requirement for all New York Forward projects. So that would be in this community, but also in Dobbs Ferry across the river and other communities that are receiving, that are going through the same process as NIAC is going through, is that $6 to $8 million. And the reason why the state has included that, it's also for the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. Their range is higher, of course, because they received $10 million, but it's a similar, very similar requirement. The reason why they do that is because sometimes projects will fall through. And so if a project falls through, if they end up not spending as much as they get, then there's other projects that have already been selected or approved by the LPC for funding. And so then they'll go back to that list of 6 to 8 million and say, okay, this project fell through. that we had awarded. So now we have additional like backup projects that then we can, that can proceed, we can choose to fund. And then, any question here?
With regard to the restaurant. The one thing is about parking. If we are gonna be additional parking for this restaurant, are we gonna have to pay for parking? You have to go with these restaurants.
So the question is about parking for the restaurant and whether parking will be as included in the plan. Parking is not included in the plan. So it is located right next to that municipal lot that is primarily used for, or seems to be used often for the park, for Memorial Park. But no parking, no additional parking would be provided as part of it.
So if I wanted to go to the restaurant.
Sorry, I don't know what the parking regulations are there, but if that's what the current parking
Yeah.
regulations are, then yeah.
Yes, I just.
The lot charges from 10 PM, 10 AM to 7 PM currently.
Is it sufficient parking for a restaurant?
That we can ask the,
Well, there was a restaurant there for many years and they actually had exclusivity over the parking lot. So no one else could park there for any reason. It's now the main parking lot for both the park and the marina, and it would be for the restaurant, but it's a fairly substantial, there's a lot of spaces there. And the time when the restaurant would be busy would be the time when the park is generally busy in the afternoons. The restaurant would be more busy at night, I would expect. There's a lot of spaces there. And we're gonna have more spaces when we make some changes with some other things we're doing in the parking lot.
Still, staff. But not in this, it's taking the money. Second question is. The lighting and the Main Street and Wood Lane down.
Right.
There is one light, so the next gate. But you have that really horrendous big empty building that brand new. Was a catering hall, was
right,
there's no garbage there.
Yeah, nice.
Vanguard, 65, he's on 65 Main?
But the building has been empty for years. And it's not good for our community, that's large. And I don't even know why the street will still have this empty space and they have a new garden, there is none.
right. So the question is about, there is a large vacant space and vacant building that is not well kept. That is on that stretch between, on Main Street between South Broadway and the river. So nothing would be done on the lot. Any work that would be performed as part of that project would only be within the village right of way. So I guess to answer your question, yes, you would have an ugly eyesore building if that's what you believe it to be, and then more beautification on the sidewalk.
See, it doesn't. They would be responsible for the building.
That's the building owner. Yes. Comment, no, thank you. Yes, questions.
Kind of same note, fixing the park between Main Street, Broadway and Marina. Which told to obviously consider that, although greater love it, even has the Marina. Consider like connecting the Main Street and South Broadway, that's what we have, that's part of the reason I getting the project. So there's still a plan, it's not a comprehensive plan for many years ago, and it was finished. Something like that, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, which area are you talking about specifically?
He's talking about South Broadway down,
Right.
Yes, Main Street's Cedar.
Let's make a continuous corridor from
Yeah.
Main Street to
Oh, okay,
Cedar.
okay.
To add like Homestead there.
Oh, so I'd like
It's,
to host that.
yeah, it's dark.
Okay. We can look at that and we'll convey that to the village, we'll convey that again. Yes, question in the back.
Yes, in regards to the mural project, is any consideration to restore the mural that is currently at
Bird and South Florida, right?
So the question is whether there has been with the murals project, the building on Bird and South Broadway. No, we have not heard anything about that. So I think that would be up to the, whoever owns that building. Will be up to them to submit a project. We can certainly mention it to the Hudson Valley Arts, Mural Arts Organization and see if they've inquired about it.
I've been in conversations with them, that has come up, as I understand it, there's a plan to do that with the people that own it and the people who originally put the mural up. But that could also be something that's subject to can that be a small project fund,
Yes,
project?
that could also be a small project fund.
That's where I was getting with this, because seems that the whole time it was very, your opinions. 7 minutes on, so this is
Thank you. Do you have a
For the Gateway Underpass
Sure.
Project, are there any interested landscaping companies or people? Have you seen any kind of renderings that people are proposing yet, or is it really just?
Yeah, there have been no, so the question is about the underpass project. Whether there have been any renderings done or anything like that. No, we do not, and the village would have to, once they were if they were awarded the project. Then they would go and they would submit an RFP and then they would select a landscape company, but we will have. Part of the project, the Mural Forward process is to have renderings of the projects, and so those would probably be available for the public meeting. And possibly at the next LPC meeting. Any other questions? Yes.
For the Wayfinder project, the park was excluded from the. It's a big project, but all the Wayfinder project still going down into the parking lot.
So, yeah, so the question is about the wayfinding project and whether or not it would include Memorial Park, which is not actually in the New Florida area. So per the state, because the project involves wayfinding, most of the signage, has to be within the New York Florida area, but there can be some exceptions. No?
That's guideline is shifted, all of the signage has to be, right?
So can it point towards?
Yes, it can point towards it, but it cannot be located outside of the boundary.
Okay.
Yeah.
State likes to switch things up on me in that sense.
Other side of the street.
Any other questions? Yes.
As this process continues, you guys ask more questions about the sponsors, what's the rules about stopping to like, we have to see as far as like, there were a lot of advisory that we have to help.
Right. So the question is about the project sponsors and whether they should be, like if there are any rules about talking to the LPC. And I'm gonna look towards the New York State rep who's thinking very hard about this one. I don't know that there are any rules per se.
There are not any rules, but I just remind LPC members that they have signed a code of conduct.
You mean bribe?
More words I have to strike from the record. We don't even joke about that word from this platform.
Sorry, just.
Don't even joke.
No joking.
There is a code of conduct that the LPC members are following, throughout this process, and so that is real or perceived conflicts. So I would just implore any LPC members that you may talk to remember that code of conduct when discussing projects.
That said, if you have anything, if there was anything that we missed in our presentation that you would like the LPC to know, I think you can reach out to us. But we have everything that's in your in any of the project sponsor applications has been submitted in full, except for the confidential information to the LPC. So they've had a chance to read through all the applications, and we'll be able to review them again after this meeting. Question over here.
All the documentation that shows, will that be provided on the website?
No, we will, the PowerPoint from tonight will be posted on the New York Forward website. But not the applications will not be made public. Question back here? Yes.
I am the, I speak specifically about. I am part of the separate private committee that's for that village. And there is a permitting process that's required to there's a permitting process. They would apply for the permit, that factors into like you have to. You know, where how the sequence is.
Right, so the question is about the sequencing because the village has recently the village actually adopted the mural guidelines and a mural review board. So the,
But within and falling within that.
okay, thank you. Public art review board. So the project sponsors would have to disclose that they have to go through that process so that the state would understand that they will have to go through a process, but they would not have to start that process before being awarded. After they can wait until after they're awarded to go through that process.
Still's right, and I just want to note that all projects are still subject to all local approvals. There, this funding does not override any of that.
And that's an excellent point, and that includes any proposed buildings or anything like that would have to go through site plan review, like seeker if necessary, certainly building code, per building permits and things like that. So that would just be another building permit type of. Yes.
So all of that could start before the board's meeting.
Oh, so can some of that, yes, some of that can start before, so the project sponsors can start going through any of that process before the awards. Yes. Because if they were to submit any costs associated with it, it would not be reimbursed. But these projects, all of them are in different stages of, some have already received some approvals, some have received none. There are different, the projects are in different phases of kind of readiness, if you will. So that, yes, they can continue with that portion of their project. Does that answer the question? Any other questions? Okay, good, thank you. All right. With that, this is for the LP, this exercise is for the LPC, so we'd ask that members of the public to please not engage in this. But for LPC, and also for members of the public, please just make sure that you've signed in so we can, I think on the other side, not on that side of the podium, but the other side. What? Oh, also the meeting's not over if you wish to stay and watch more of it. There is more to it.
Stay, please stay. Please.
Wait, are we allowed to start?
Yes. So for LPC members, you guys each have you have a QR code in your packet. It's also up on the screen. And everybody has access to a phone. Yes, and so you guys can start. And so what we are doing is, yeah. And I have.
I know, it's a little more than.
We have to see if any refusals.
Yes, if you have recused yourself, please don't answer the questions, just skip over it. Yes.
So on your phones, after you have scanned the QR code, you will see the first project that we talked about today, the Gateway rezoning. The first thing you're answering is, how well does this project align with the state and regional goal? Or you say the project aligns with the state and regional goal, strongly disagree, 1, strongly agree, 5, you can just press and figure that out and submit. And remember, your state and regional goals are on the evaluation form that was in your packet earlier as a reminder. And then after that question is then one is, which local goals does this project align with? So there are 7 local goals also in your evaluation packet. So just select which local goals it aligns with, and then you'll move to the rest of the 20 projects.
Where is it?
You see the local goals, the draft local goals are the goals that you're comparing to.
So that's this two-sided, right?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's fast, that's fast. I could start this.
And we'll talk more about these after. We'll try to go through them quickly, because I know it's, coming up on 8, so if there's any, board members that have to leave, please just let us know.
You go back.
I don't know.
So say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, upon further consideration, I have a small consulting project with the Hopper House. This Flash Sketch Mob that was approved beforehand and I didn't think it was affected by this, but since there's a financial relationship. I didn't speak during that because I suddenly realized maybe that's a problem, so I'm not gonna vote on it and recusing myself from third.
Okay, thank you.
Get that sorted.
One of the things is just instant showing, so.
I thought it was me too.
Thumbs up is like on every slide.
Is it not following?
Oh, it's like, oh.
No. It doesn't.
Right?
Does sound like
It like starts with a project and then skips to another
Yeah.
project, right?
Yeah. Might have to redo this. Like it asks you a question about one project, and then it'll jump to asking which
Are you getting on that?
something with lines for another project. Yeah, I just caught that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was constantly doing that, yeah.
I had to skip one, it makes sense for my rating.
Right,
Yeah.
so like if you're not careful at the top, it might not match.
It might
where
not
you're-
match what you're actually thinking.
Yeah.
Should we stop?
I would say keep going, just pay attention.
Okay. So like if we skip though, because it doesn't match our score. Then
I think what you have to look at is up top in the.
So then just like.
Yeah, that
line,
one, yeah, yeah. I hope.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we're gonna look at the results collectively and
Yeah.
we're like, that doesn't match anything we said. Yeah, okay.
I'm happy to see it. I mean, place.
I didn't really get to read this.
Maybe this.
I'm gonna show hands without seeing numbers who are done.
Yeah, I'm really slow.
Okay, that's it. I'm just curious.
It's very fast, not standardized tests.
Right, yeah.
The first three and the last three are right. Everything in between. No business council meetings. No business council meetings.
Absolutely next.
Thought it was last week.
I know, she
No, it
scares me.
wasn't, no, it wasn't on.
Had it in my, I think we talked about.
The next one is, I'll find it.
Andy said yes. Like your bag.
Oh my God. I forgot the name of her store and she's right next door to me. It's Lindsay's store.
Land by sea.
Not by Lynn.
By sea.
She has one more left. Go get it. She's open tomorrow.
September 10th. Next one.
Oh, I did.
Go for our next village board. It's Wednesday. Wednesday, September 10th.
But her name's Laura. I mean, Lindsay. Like somebody will like. Yeah. Like it's. What you said.
I had that in too, but for some reason, I'm getting that too. I knew I should ask before.
I would say, I love my order.
Yeah, it's supposed to make that.
Right, I'll give you my order. Wow, where it came from.
No, everyone's.
It's been here forever.
This bad.
I don't know why we have one space behind it. We can also narrow the stage by half.
Yeah.
And have more space out there.
You're gonna set off.
There's a lot of dead space behind them.
No, we're trying. What used to go on back there? Is that where all the compact computers were? All the PCs.
Back there is where the magic happens.
Yeah. Oh, that would be nice.
I'm so slow, I'm sorry, and I'm also, I'm not kids. Now you guys can almost go, hold on. I'm going to. She's the one.
You make
She's gonna do this, okay. Definitely. Sorry.
So I got those home.
I actually read the thing.
I read everything. You see?
Fires at work, so we have.
You did, yeah, thank you, Oh, yes, send it to me. Yeah, send it to us.
These results. Just seems to live. Oh, I need this.
It's the. Like, pulling up, they're gonna show them to us, right?
Yeah, but.
This is where- so that's a good score. So you just get a score. Right? Well, I'm saying, don't think there's anything that's surprising.
Just that, yeah,
There's definitely, person, you know, person, what's for your innovations? The numbers and shit, billions of dollars.
Keeps giving me that. I thought they were all individual.
A lot of the private projects. I'm sorry, listen to me.
It's cool,
How many LPC members are still working? Me, that's okay.
all right, good, thank you.
Mine keeps saying submit, try.
Yeah, it keeps
Try
snapping back.
again.
So,
It's okay, it's just.
I get a lot
like
of try again.
Me
My
too,
first
me
one
too.
probably is this last one.
All right.
So the world will go in there.
Yeah.
I just. Well, there's nothing different. We should use to, it's not just.
Just names will take you there. Good. Street space.
yes, well,
Saying something on that.
That you can see once
You
you're
could
done.
see it. I was looking.
You can say, see results.
Has it been? Oh,
yeah,
Okay.
Yep. I mean, there's still states only giving 4.5. It's slate of projects is $6 to $8 million, so you will submit a slate of projects. Worth $6 to $8 million, but the state is gonna choose projects totaling up to $4.5 million.
There's a calling process after us.
Yes, but that's up to the state.
Oh,
That's
it.
wait, what?
We
Yeah,
said
no.
6
Wait,
to 8 million, but then they.
We give 6 to 8 million,
Yeah.
then they cut it to 4.5.
But who in the
We're
state?
here to cut it from 20 to 6.6 to 8.
But there'll be less.
Who in the state? Like,
It is
what?
a multi-agency state.
Multi-agency?
Yeah, so that's.
This is not the Fed.
That's what the
We love New York.
Good.
That was a good.
Right?
That was a good one.
You brought up a good point, like, let's say, somebody's on a budget or
That's
it
interesting.
falls through.
That'll be with you. I just.
Priority list, and when, if that does happen, they go straight to the next one, they reassess the ones that are already.
The LPC district, sorry, the LPC does not.
No, the state, I meant the state.
The state.
So I mean, the state, evaluates the project similarly to how you all use it very much some of the same criteria. And then, any projects that are fall off and then we have money left over, we'll do a kind of a feasibility assessment of all. the remaining-
Okay, got it.
I know.
The state.
I know.
Well, complete. Or they just.
They try to do big projects, and then there's always that last bit that's like not adds up to 4.5 million, so if they only have 200,000 left and there's no returns, they might pick a $500,000.
Or in some cases, like we've seen, maybe we only have $50,000 left, maybe we give more money to a small project fund. So there's a little bit of like wiggle
The
room
first
here.
thing is they fall. Say this.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that's so interesting that you said, they don't lean towards cutting someone's budget proposal, like proposing the whole thing, whereas I think if you talk to anybody. And boy, we really love A, B, and C, but we can do without C, but A, B would be really good, and to not get it because we don't have that choice seems. I get some stuff to that.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the state's generally like not going to go and pick and choose components, we're gonna let the LPC kind of figure out what those whole projects are. That's not generally what the state gets involved in, is like they look at the whole project and say yes or no, we're gonna fund it.
We would scale some, we got
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
So. And I've got some examples in my head already, I mean, just think of like knowing the community, like not getting it at all, we're going. Okay, you're not getting, the gold plated on this spot, you're just gonna get one that you're like.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done?
Yeah.
No, everyone's done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah. I'm just shooting the shit. I was so smart.
Yeah.
You also there.
We're waiting.
Sports.
Yes, so we are gonna talk about these projects one by one, so if you have a refusal, you'll still need to step out when we get back on.
So my theory on going through this and discussing this one by one.
Do you have the mic? Do you still have the mic?
Oh, yeah. So I think the way that we're gonna do this is for projects that are, just be mindful of the time, projects that have very high scores in terms of how they do, we might just kind of breeze through, and then we'll pause on ones that have lower scores. But do feel free to ask questions during. So Gateway rezoning, this project aligns with state and regional goals, this was strongly agreed. Which local goals does this project align with? And it seems like it aligns, with, several, we said certainly goals 2 and 4, and then we also had some folks said goals 1, 3, 5, and 6. So this one, I said pretty much aligns with, 6 of the goals. So I think this one we can move. Gateway Underpass, this one was, scored 4.1, so more as an in-between, agree and strongly agree. Which goals does this apply to? Goals 1, 2, 4, and goal 6 as well. So it aligns with, 4 of the goals at least, and potentially more. So I think this one we can kind of skip past. This one, 143, 145 Main Street, this is bollards and sidewalk upgrades. This one, in terms of aligning with state and regional goals, leaning towards between disagree and strongly disagree. And it appears that it aligns with goal 1, local goal, and none of the other ones.
So I think we'll pause here. Were any of you surprised by this one? Are there any questions about this one? Any further questions? And then I will ask, does the LPC want this project to proceed through to LPC meeting number 4?
No.
Okay, can I get a show of hands saying no? Okay, so it's unanimous. Okay, so this project will be reserved.
Can we have?
Conversation.
Can I just ask, I have to admit a bias against something that we are funding that is a private company as opposed to a nonprofit or for public good. Am I alone in that?
No.
Well, like small business loans, I mean, sometimes private or public money is used for small businesses, and there's some small businesses don't have access to capital, they don't have access.
You mean with this specific thing? I just don't. see-
No, I'd like to discuss it in general. first,
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think it's reflective already in this first one, but that was just, I just wanted to get other people's thoughts on it.
Well, not all private is, so I would say not all private is private, some private is big, heavily funded.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
is not, is appealing, or compelling to me, but there are people who are in business who help the public good and need support and traditionally receive support. So,
I think a lot of times private people have levels, especially others have. Oh, it's not a student. So.
You're not.
You're saying,
Right.
but to his point, there are private organizations that would say classes to the public. That is it, but this one in particular, I think this is very, with that.
I think a private project's always gonna have a little bit of a higher hurdle than a nonprofit or a public. I'm actually curious, do we have any kind of data on what percentage of New York Forward funds go toward private projects versus public and nonprofit?
No, it's all over the place. I mean, from the ones that I've seen and have worked on, it's all over the place.
And my guess is that if there's a lot of projects that are nonprofits that have been, or private projects that have gotten big funding, it's probably housing in some way. Because especially if it's affordable housing, it might be done by a private company, but it would be considered more of a public interest than something that would be more of a private interest, like it's definitely more cognitively challenging to say, let's give this business money for its business, as opposed to let's
Yeah.
give
I just wanted.
the Nike Center money.
And jobs, how many jobs are created?
Yeah.
That's just big.
Yeah, right, that's a good. Thank you. That's great.
Jobs out.
It's a good question, Eileen, I didn't mean to suggest it wasn't a good question.
Can I see a private?
And the recusal room.
Recusal room. Did you guys have magazines or something to read while you were there? I mean, come on.
Everybody's got
It's
friends
late.
out there.
Could I just say it's not very silent in there?
Well, I went all the way to the corner,
Yeah, I'm not sure how good of a process this is.
It's the Human Rights
All right,
Commission.
so the thinking was not to pass this one forward, is that
Yes,
it?
this one will not proceed, and we will notify the project sponsor. Okay, 51 North Broadway exterior renovations. This one is similar in terms of how the project aligns state and regional goals, kind of between disagree and strongly disagree. And it seems that it aligns with local goal 1 and maybe local goal 5.
This is 51 North Broadway, the exterior?
Yes, this is
So the 7 tenants?
Yes.
It's the condo
or
building.
angle 7. So let's talk about this one a little bit. What are everybody's thoughts about this project? Are there any questions, or do we want to go straight to the magic question?
I have a hesitancy because it sounds to me from this application that these are 7 individual owners in a condo that are asking to be funded for their renovations. I understand some of them are seniors, but we don't necessarily know if they're below any type of income level. We don't know anything outside of their age. They
Correct.
could be millionaire seniors.
Correct.
Okay, just making sure. It's not yet.
I don't know any about
Yeah.
their financial situation.
And it doesn't actually create additional
No.
housing.
No.
It just,
Right.
it's just renovations.
I want a renovation too.
I know.
Are we allowed buttons to go straight from there?
Yeah, where's that number?
And she'll do her job.
I had to undergo a massive, house renovation to have my whole exterior renovated and, yeah, so I
What was the state
So I just wanted to- I am not going to say anything and said, I'm going to ask the LBC, do you guys, do you want this project to, proceed? Raise your hand if no.
If no, raise hand.
Yeah. Okay.
There's one thing, the difference between repairs, maintenance, and reconstruction.
Yeah.
Right.
Repairs really don't carry their weight.
The building was about to fall down. That's-
Be right there, I'll be right there, Elliot.
Why don't you leave at this point? I feel like the results are, I'm just curious, like if I.
Because we have to vote.
I think the reason why we were asking, because we were talking about this, about whether or not people have to refuse it. It's more about just because if there's a vote as to whether or not it proceeds,
Yeah.
whether or not the LBC would be more
I don't wanna say-
comfortable without.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wanna
But I
vote no
mean-
on Fund Valley.
It's standard practice, basically.
I'm skipping
Everybody whisper.
Angel Maya, this project aligns with state and regional goals, strongly agree. And it's felt that this project aligns with, goals 1, 8, somewhat with goals 2, 4, 1, 3, and 6. And a little bit with all the other ones.
Wait,
So I think this one seems like it aligns. Are there any questions about this one?
It's a great project.
Move it
It
forward.
just out of a point of context, the fact that somebody did vote yes, that it does help with housing.
You probably did.
Yeah.
You were finished so fast.
Hey, that's thumbs, that's phone thumbs.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oops.
Yeah.
What, wait, somebody put that on the gateway corridors.
Yeah.
Listen, I just wanted to bring the spirit of Marie Lawrence in.
Calm down.
I appreciate that. So you sat right there.
Okay, Elliot and Thomas, you may come back.
Oh, do we vote?
We voted New York
Yeah.
forward.
Yes.
I thought we only vote on the ones that are like.
Did anybody say no to that? We didn't vote.
In the, we haven't voted on every single one,
We
right?
didn't-
Yeah,
We're only voting, we're only doing the.
yeah, we're only kind of voting
Who
on
knows?
ones where.
Yeah.
that are-
Right,
There's
right.
questions?
That's why I was wondering why,
It's like the Coliseum.
why to leave.
Okay.
Yeah, this is 17 South Broadway, the housing development and gallery space. This one is more in the kind of, somewhat more to the disagree. More in the middle, but some more toward, in between disagree and sympathy. Local goals does this project align with, goals 1, 3, and 5. And then maybe some of the other ones as well. So let's talk more about this one. This one is interesting. It's kind of, seems kind of middling. So I think, anybody want to say why they felt this, why they disagreed with this one in terms of whether that it met the state and regional goals?
Well, for me, with the affordability crisis, especially, you know, the median rent at 32, or not the median, but the market rent's gonna be 3,200. Voting for a project that has that market rent, considering everybody's going through right now, I think would be problematic.
Yep.
I had trouble.
Sounds like a great problem.
I had trouble with it being for construction. I mean, I work with a lot of housing projects, especially in Florida and Mass Market, and I understand this is a private company. They don't have any other federal or state dollars associated with this, it seems, but like, what are we building? Are we building the affordability units? Are we building market rate units that nobody can afford when affordability is a problem?
I think it's hard to parcel out specific,
Right.
you know, like what this would specifically go towards, but it would, so I would assume it kind of goes through the whole construction of the whole
So
thing.
when you apply for state federal grants, you have to give higher budget money in line item, as it is reimbursable. And then like David's bacon becomes an issue, so pre-develop, like all of. I don't know, I just maybe putting my HUD hat on and like looking at from an affordable and market rate, this is a complicated project. And the state and local requirements of it and. Because it's not like pre-development and it's like. are you okay with building a $3,200 unit with
No.
this money? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, I don't know, I don't like it.
I think this is a great project and I hope it goes forward and I expect, it may not come before the village board, so I may never have a chance to make a render an opinion on it, but I think for building housing that will include 4 or 5 affordable units is good. I just don't know that necessarily taking 1/3 of the money that we've been granted for downtown revitalization,
Right.
putting it toward and putting it toward a $10 million development that I'm pretty sure will happen.
Yeah.
It sounds like they could do it without us and
That would be
also
my same opinion.
it's gonna be
I-
long-term
I think it's
major project.
necessary that we have increased units on South Broadway especially, right? In order to really maintain our downtown in that side of town, right?
can't
it
hurt for
would put
trying.
more Monday to Friday foot traffic in, right? But to Joe's point, I'm not really sure they really need that money, right?
It didn't seem like they needed.
Yeah.
They have.
So you guys have a couple options. So you could either choose that the project doesn't proceed, that it ends here and it is not under consideration for new or for funding. You could also, there could be questions that we could ask of the project sponsor. We could ask them, if you guys wanted to, we could ask if they would be willing to provide additional affordable units than what they were, than 10% that they were showing. You could also agree to have it go forward, and then I think at the next meeting after you see their budget, then if it did continue forward, then you would be able to ask them, say, if you felt like you wanted the project to proceed, but only if they were only asking for $1 million or whatever it is. You could also do that as well. I wouldn't ask you guys to make that determination now, but for right now, we'll make the determination as to whether or not you want the project to go forward. We could ask about the affordable units though in the interim.
It's not an affordable housing project. It's a market project that is complying with the affordable housing requirement of the village. I mean, which is every project. I mean, every building project in the village has to comply with the code.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I mean,
There's so many deserving projects, this is one.
It made the construction of this development more expensive if they have more 40-60%.
Right.
So that just puts more money out of their pocket, so I don't think they know the increase.
I'm inclined not to move forward.
Yeah.
So let's see a show of hands of who would like this project to move forward. No, and all against it moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be that, Bertie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
I got time.
okay, all right.
Tell them we wish them well.
it's a great project.
But
No, no, I've done
it.
it.
Yeah.
I'll go to the gallery.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's best. I need to bathroom.
So eventually.
I lived there.
Wait, what's the next one? No,
Just leave.
What's next? Just assume you're.
I know.
So
Okay, village branding, marketing and wayfinding. So they strongly agree that this aligns with state and regional goals. And that it aligns with goals, goals 2, 3, 4, 6, and maybe 7. Any questions, concerns about this one? So we'll consider this moving forward. All right, Edward Hopper House. Oh, good.
Anything over a certain number moves forward, and even other moves.
No, I think if there's any LPC, if I'm like moving forward, it's more for a timing thing, so if you see if I'm moving forward, something that like is highly aligned, if you're like, wait a second, just stop me, and we'll discuss it, so that's, and we'll do the vote. Edward Hopper House Museum and Study Center renovations, this is kind of right in the middle, slightly more towards agree, that aligns with state and regional goals. It appears to align with goals 1 and 3 and 6, and maybe 1 or 2 others. So let's talk about this one. This is another kind of middling one. What are people's thoughts on this one?
Good.
Yeah, I just want to start, obviously, this is one of the changes we have within towns and most important on the one side, I think what's missing the application is ultimately extra visitors, as to the extent, students investing.
Yeah.
That's what's more clear, I think, these are all good ideas, but doesn't really. I think that's what's reflected in this assessment here, it's not clear what's the impact.
Analytics and facts.
I thought it was interesting, this scored, I mean, it's in a very similar place to the Angel of Nyack. And scored much lower than the Angel of Nyack did for its request. Not to give anything away to the people that recuse themselves, but. But I thought it was very similar. I will, and it actually scored a lot lower than, when we'll get to it, than the Nyack Center. And I don't think there's any particular reason for that, because I mean, everybody loves the Hopper House. I think it might be a function of how much money they're asking for. And the fact that a lot of it was for maintenance as opposed to being enhancements that would be for public use. Whereas the Angel is asking for HVAC, which is definitely public, makes the place much more viable for public use for like a third of the year. And you know, I think I would like to pass it forward because I'd like to find out more, and I'd like to talk to them, or have you talked to them about cutting it back to being the stuff that relates to the outdoor space rather than the windows and things like that, which, you know, that's general maintenance to building.
Yeah, too, like Hopper is kind of a more established nonprofit that gets additional funding from different other sources. They are also an international tourist destination now. Angel Nyack is just getting started.
Yeah.
The Nyack Center, maybe we can get them to that point. So Hopper's a little bit more well established, where I agree. Let's maybe see, what does that mean if we include the outside? What does that actually bring to the community? How does it help with catalytic response? And maybe we stay on the outside, not so much on the inside, because I think they're doing very well and.
I just want to agree with my colleagues, and this is a really good example of where if you were to ask the executive director who oversaw putting this together, look, it's either nothing or you get the outside theater space renovated, they would totally go for the
Totally, right.
and not have any. So the fact that, you know, we don't necessarily are the people who pick and choose how to break this down. Do you go back to them at some point and go, do you want to lower your budget and
Yeah.
resubmit?
Yes,
You can actually do that.
Yes.
And say, pick one. Can you tell them what the majority of,
so,
and you guys think, you know, there's three parts here. Their theater space, their outdoor lighting, you know, where that would affect the public, then the stuff about the windows, and then your art lab renovation. Did I get the impression that the things that affect the public, their theater space, their outdoor space, are more important than windows and their art?
Same with Elmwood, you know, it's like, that's why I asked that with prioritizing,
Right.
you know.
So is the question, to go back, if you want to move this forward, be like, the LPC was a lot more curious about what is the public and catalytic impact of these components? And maybe leave them all in, noting that they appreciated the garden piece more because they saw the public impact, but if you want to continue forward with the other components, you all need to convey the impact of those.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't put a number on it, but if you went back and like, look, if you cut this in half, it might be more likely that it would go through. I mean,
We can share all of this feedback with them and they can come with a revised.
and I don't blame them for putting the entire.
We all do that. We all do it.
But,
So you would go back to them and say like, you know, we really like, right, yeah, the answers to that positive catalytic response, okay, I think that.
Absolutely, and we can give the feedback on the other components as well, because and say they did not understand the public impact, if you want to present that case that we can share.
Yeah.
Or how about, maybe in addition to the question, like which pieces of these are most important to the Elmwood, to
Yeah.
Opera House?
Yeah.
Like as an executive director, I know exactly what that question is. I'll take the outside theater first, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just think too, I mean, just the overall picture here, I'm thinking about friends from Elmwood and theater lighting here and theater from the Angel. Maybe there's another answer that we can light all of Niagara projects somewhere else, but the fact that we've got 4 performance spaces here, all
Yeah.
looking for lighting. Could actually maybe handled another way. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I'm just pointing it out.
Are you talking about river space?
Yeah.
What?
You have a lighting company, Elliot, that you wanna?
I do. Not that I don't.
I know, I just
No, but
said,
I mean,
So do I.
But there might be one.
it might be that,
There's-
depending on how the grants go, that it might make sense for them to try to, but that would be done after the grant.
Yeah, I'm
To
not.
say, let's use the same
Just
vendor and get a
saying it's
good price.
That all these companies are looking for like.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a good observation.
Yeah. Give us.
So- Are we good with passing this forward with the basic, the way she articulated it?
Yeah, so who wants to pass it forward with, we will give,
We will respond to the project sponsor with all the feedback. Okay. Billy, you can come back.
He's like downstairs.
You stand right in the door.
All right, next up is Elmwood Community Playhouse, and it's just for almost exactly the same as Clover House. So let's talk about this one. Is there a desire to kind of to have the same treatment as
Yeah.
Edward Hopper House?
Along the
or-
same lines.
Same thing, yeah, they're asking for about the same money, and I think the
And
same
also
thing
get
goes.
doors out.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like what the impact would be, like, how many tickets do you sell now? If you have the improved lighting and you can put on different shows, what's the projected impact?
So,
tough.
that's really tough to know.
Yep.
I mean, they put on 5 shows a year.
Yeah.
Plus some of, that's 5 productions, plus some other
Side stage stuff.
one act show, things like that, that fill up.
I think they
Schedule.
said it would also enable them to be able to use, because they use the theater for other uses as well. For like, I'm sorry, I can't explain, I'm not like.
Yeah.
Not
As
familiar
a
with it.
theater producer, man.
Well, yeah, we know.
I don't think that any of that would be quantified. I don't think you could say if you put in lighting, you're gonna get X number of more people to come. In any of these places,
Well,
Opera
show.
House.
Aren't they-
You could do number, but the number, they went from 6, and then when COVID happened, they went to 5. There's people,
But-
they'd like to go back.
I think they might have other groups that come in and use the space for other things, and I think that programming would increase.
Okay, cause you had mentioned.
But they have to-
but-
Yeah.
Also the qualitative, if the productions are of higher quality, they get more people to each show. They sell out as opposed to having 2/3 full.
That's what.
Yeah.
So I would do the same thing that we did with Hopper. It's about the same amount of money, it's about the same general concept.
Right.
You know, focus on the things that impact the public, not necessarily the roof or, you know, you have to find another way to raise your money.
Normal maintenance is not some, if they drop their normal maintenance, I think they get it, they get
Yeah,
it
I
faster.
agree.
What about the mural? I'm just curious, like, would that be, would you guys consider the mural as, that's part of the budget as being?
I think it goes back to like the discussion of prioritizing what they need and trying to. I think that Wish Hopper House. And what was the other one?
And art from Angel.
An Angel.
Everything that's okay.
Well, the Angel pretty much had just the one request.
All right.
It's mostly just the HVAC. Oh, there's HVAC and pulling out the pews. Those are the 2 things.
But I mean, it's also doing some mill work, and there's some other,
Was that part of it as well? I didn't see that. Okay.
yeah. And electrical, yeah,
Electrical, that's a lot.
yeah. Okay, Bill, you're back in.
I just sat here.
I know.
What's next?
So Valley Neuro Arts. No, not everybody was in for this one. So this one was 3.8, so kind of in between. So kind of probably right at Breeze. With the lines of state and regional goals. Goals 1, 3, and 6, and 7. So what are your guys' thoughts on this project? I think move the front.
Yeah, let's keep going.
So it was that they didn't have to fix the Richmond, get it to 5. And so I think if we can either get more commitment or break it down and say you get, for the rural, you get a certain amount. So it's not so vague when it comes to how much we get for this side.
So, anybody else agree? So do you want to show, raise of hands to move this forward? And we'll ask them questions. Okay. All right, John Greenhouse Restoration, this is right in the middle, 3.1, it's goals 1, 3, maybe 6, and maybe some others. Thoughts on this one? I think this one is gonna be a little different from Elmwood and Edward Hopper, because I don't think they can they can't really pick and choose elements. It's really for one main thing, which is to shore up the exterior of it.
Which is necessary.
That's what was hard for me, was that it still felt like they were still so far from the village.
Yeah.
It made it difficult to say like, is this really gonna move it along? Even though as much as,
Right.
you know, I feel like it's important. 6:20.
Right, they still want you to be able to open.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, from my understanding, when Perry, like a couple of years ago, thought it would never happen, and he's become much more encouraged, and he's pretty cynical. But it has a long way to go. The thing I like about the project is it has a lot of sustained community effort. Like the entire Nyack Art Collective has taken it on as like a pet project, and you know, and just the value of it. Like I said, that the history points to current inequities, like the owner. To some people, it's provocative, but the owner actually owns slaves. John Green, like in the 1820 census, the two slaves that were affiliated with the house. So I think having a structure in Nyack that can point to that history is important, and to preserve it's important. But obviously, we have a lot of tough choices to make. So I'd certainly like to just hear more.
Can I ask our local historian? I was gonna ask you, who John Green was, and I really don't know that much about it, but also what's the public? What will the public get out of this? What's the plan to have the public be more involved in this building?
Well, in terms of the creation of it, or once it's over?
No, once it's like done, what will happen? Is it
Well, I mean,
gonna be a museum? or-
I mean, I know that I've heard people say that it would be a nice home for the Historical Society, who might be looking for a home soon, but. John Green was one of the founders, like Tunis and Blauvelt and Green. He was one of the founders of the Old Stone Church. He was the guy who was part of the committee that created the turnpike, which is 59, and they set it up to avoid flooding.
And
It's kind of funny because it's still flooding.
Yeah, the building is structurally interesting, as I think it's the oldest sandstone building in Nyack, and maybe one of the oldest in the county.
Yeah,
maybe. What the public benefit would be there's some concept of having an art space there. I think there is a lot of talk about the Historical Society moving there because their space that they currently occupy might not be available much longer. And it's, you know, it's a preservation of history is really the public benefit. I think it's worth passing forward at this point.
Yeah.
I think that it's a valuable project. It has a lot of merit to it. There is the problem of like sinking, you know, $600,000 into it, and it's still $1.2 million away from actually anything happening. And it's like, are we just like, you know, pouring money into a giant maw? But I think it's worth considering going forward. It may never get, yeah, it may be necessary for the next step to get that forward. But I think it's worth talking about and hearing back from them in the next phase.
What they had conveyed in their application is that the first floor would be, exhibition space. And then the, second floor would be, either artist studios or space for nonprofits. So, and I think that the,
First floor is small.
yeah, I don't know if it was the whole first floor, but they did indicate that part of it would be exhibition space that would be like open to the public. And then the other part would be, office or like artist studio type spaces. So that I think the full programming is still to be determined, but that's the vision.
That's really hard. Goal for it, not the ones you articulated. Not possible.
So who wants to raise their hands to move the project forward to the next step? Okay. And just for clarification, you can always these questions will be asked again. About whether a project will proceed or not after LPC 4. So this is not your last chance to weigh in on. Okay, the tale of Taylor's Little Ellie Halberd.
No.
Hop out of here.
Hop out.
Late.
I also want to say thank you guys for staying late. So this one's for 3.4, so kind of in the middle there. And hits maybe goals 3, maybe goal 4, goal 6, and goal 7. Stradbrook District.
This is which one? Okay.
This is, Little Eddie Hopper. This is
Well, I didn't-
five minutes.
Did this application say anything about the beaches?
It did not.
Okay.
But that's an easy thing to incorporate into
Yeah, no,
it,
I
yeah.
just wasn't sure if like, if it was included, I meant to ask them.
Yeah, no, I don't recall it being included. Yeah, but we can ask them. That's a question.
You know, this one's the smallest request we have. The only reason wouldn't qualify for the small project fund, so it was put in here.
Why didn't?
Yeah, because it's not, that's really for facade renovations and things like that. I mean, I like it. I think the project is a good one. I think I mentioned that, wonder whether this could be kind of incorporated into the general wayfinding, because it's kind of the same thing as the wayfinding. But I think it's, at this point, I think it's worth considering, hearing more about it and finding out more about it. That would be my point to you at this point.
What other folks say?
I don't understand it at this point, but what it is. Just think and go find benefit. I mean, it's talking about maybe we're simply seeing.
You need to read it, yeah.
Is it an existing children's book already?
No, part of it would be to develop the children's book.
I think generally you connect different dots in the village and that people.
Mhm.
That's really. Great.
It's kind of like a treasure hunt. The business recently did a treasure hunt. Where's Waldo? That's a popular kind of dynamic. And it's one of the few proposals we have that's aimed at younger people, directly at younger people.
I don't know how appropriate this is, but I definitely want to know what.
What they what?
Yeah, they think of it.
I think they're I think they're a partner, so.
But for clarification on what that representative is.
Sure.
What partnership with who?
Congress.
With Hopper House. Okay, so show of hands that this project will go forward. Mayor, Brooke,
Yes.
show of hands that this project will go forward.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay. All right, Brianne, come back in.
Oh, sorry.
All right, next up is Morris Kitchen, restaurant expansion. This one also, this one is right in the middle. This one seems to align with, goals 1, maybe goal 3, goal 4, definitely goal 6. And maybe goal 7. Thoughts on this one?
As someone who has business on that side of the world, I kind of view it as our gateway right to Nyack, so we need something down in that area that attracts. I don't know if this is the right answer, but it is an answer to our SoBro issue, right?
I haven't to the ladies one. What was the question about the river?
Whether they had a view of the river from the second floor.
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay, fine.
I think they said that they mentioned views, which I would assume they'll be views of the river, but we can ask them specifically.
Views of the
It's views of
trees
something.
across the street.
I mean,
It's almost like so La Fontana has a terrace, right? And hopefully they'll have a terrace, like it can create almost this brand for our block to be the block of terraces, right? Terrace side.
it's an activation on a main street. Because it should, people are outside, you see.
Yeah.
I will say this, my initial instinct, as with many of the private projects, was like, why would we give this money that's really in the public interest? Why would we give it to a private entity? Including a restaurant business. There's 50 restaurants in Nyack that I'm sure would love to get $500,000 or whatever they're asking, $700,000 to do a big renovation to be able to do something. I think this is a little different for the reason that Marcella says, that it's one of the anchors of kind of a growing but still struggling shopping and retail district and eating district. And it is something different. It's not, they're not doing renovations. They're not, replacing this. They're actually doing something that would create a little bit more energy and enthusiasm for people to go down to that part of the village. And it's obviously a for-profit business, but it's a really nice amenity. Like, it's a nice amenity in the way that the restaurant on the waterfront's a nice amenity. Like, it would be a nice thing, and, you know, I don't know if they would get, I would necessarily say, let's give them every dollar that they've asked for, but I think I don't feel oogie about this one the way I felt oogie about the other private
Right.
projects.
I'll share the same stuff. Like, it feels weird giving money to this, but at the same time, it would make a big difference for that side.
Can I be Solomon on this and say that, maybe we go back to them too, and I mean, they've also got construction for the dining space, but they also want money for the wood deck and 16 tables and lounge chairs, and so maybe we should buy that.
Right.
Those things could be taken to Jersey, I'm just pointing that out. They could be, nothing that could get taken out to Jersey gets funded.
They also have a 35% match, so part of their match would be the removable.
It just, but so I don't really understand it. I understand a lease to own. It does make me a little bit nervous that Tyrone doesn't own it. Like, we know Tyrone, we know them. It's an easy thing to say, but
Do we
put
know
that
how long
capital-
their lease
Yeah,
is?
that's out.
It says that they're gonna get ownership of it next year.
Who
My
owns
ex-
it now? Do we know?
It's owned by whatever landlord, building owner. My expectation is that their lease provides for their ownership to transfer after a certain number of rental payments. That's the way usually lease to owns work. But we should find that out. And that's why we passed this forward. Because I say it's worth finding out. It's the only private project we'd be advancing. I think it's worth advancing at least one private project
Yes.
to indicate that it was not a waste of time for people to submit private projects. So I would pass it forward, at least at this point, to more information
And maybe adjust the budget.
and maybe adjust the budget. Yeah, that's fine.
Can I see a show of hands to move this project forward? Okay. Nyack Center restoration. Okay, this one is definitely in the agree that this project aligns with state and regional goals. It seems to align with goals 1, 3, 6, and maybe 7. So, I mean, I might as well just ask the question, do people want this project to move forward?
Yes.
Okay,
This is an easy one.
okay.
If they were asking for $700,000, we'd probably have the same conversation we had about Hopper House. But they're asking for $150,000.
Yeah.
Hey, Elliot, can you hear us? We can step back in.
Standing right outside the open door.
I hear nothing.
Next up is, this is the firehouse, volunteer firefighter housing and training. This one is, in the kind of more in the solidly agree. It hits goals 1, definitely goal 5, maybe goal 7. We need to have a discussion on this one, or do we want it to move forward?
New York forward.
Move forward.
Yeah, it's the only housing component, it's the only housing one we have. You know, and it actually is affordable, even though it's not technically affordable, it's to keep our volunteer firefighters in the village.
Yeah, the tradition of volunteer, we're all volunteer firefighters.
Definitely gonna show of hands to move
That's
it
the
forward.
siren.
Oh, man, if we make that a condition, I'll have 100 firefighters here at the next meeting.
The siren will go 24/7.
That's another one where the money might not stick, but I think the concept is good.
So this one is, Rockland County 5, so Brooke.
Bye, Brooke.
Kyle.
Well, sorry.
Don't be homophobic, y'all.
No,
Oh, wait, I'm joking.
desecration of my bench here, the horrible drive jokes.
Peanut gallery next time down here.
Scores pretty high, or definitely in the agree that it aligns with state and regional goals, aligns with goal 1, 3, 6, and maybe 7. Do we need to have a discussion on this one, or is this one we're moving forward with this one?
It is so cool.
All right, move it forward, hands up. All right, Brooke, you're back.
Might
be that.
I know my girl.
None of that.
Then we can go on to,
We said no and kicked you out of the group.
we can go with Main Street streetscaping from Broadway to the waterfront. This one was 3.8, so pretty much agrees that it aligns with state and regional goals. As to which goals, it's a little less clear. Maybe goal 1, maybe 4, maybe 5, 6, definitely goal 7. So what are your thoughts about this project?
This was the lowest scoring of the public projects.
We haven't gotten to the next.
I looked at them all.
Oh, then yes, I guess.
I took interest in that.
My own personal hesitancy is coming from a place that I feel like Franklin, that connects like to DQ and all that, is largely ignored. So that's not a fair answer, but I wish,
Yeah,
If you-
it's
you know
kind
what
of
I
how
mean?
we feel about
Yeah.
South Broadway,
It's
like, we still don't have lighting down there.
yeah,
Right?
we don't have lighting, so I'm not so,
Yeah.
that's a personal thing.
Looking
I mean, is there you know what? How about we go back to the people who wrote that? And Andy.
There it is.
Andy, the people,
Maybe they could take a look at their budget and see if they could
The rest
include
of it.
the parts of the
Yeah.
village in it, and then we can move forward with that, yeah. I wonder what Andy.
Ask
think about
ask
it.
for more.
So,
Yeah, I don't think you can increase this by. Ask for
No, I
more.
didn't say that, but I think that they're.
Maybe spread the wealth.
Let's take
Spread
it
out,
I-
spread out the West Coast.
I'm not saying that the spread the wealth while staying within this budget,
Yeah.
is going to lead to, minor dribs and drabs of
Right.
improvements rather than anything again. That's my own personal opinion of being familiar with this project, but that's my understanding of this project. So I think I'm reluctant, I mean, we can certainly do that, but I think just be aware that I don't think this project would be impactful if you do that.
Let me just state the obvious, it's crazy if you can't come down and have a break.
Well, this isn't the restaurant. No, this is just this is the sidewalk and the improvements of the streetscape.
This is the walk down.
This is the walk down.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the restaurant got a much higher score. This, here, I would suggest this. Let me, Andy, move over so I can see your face while I say this. Is that there are really expensive elements of this, which make it very expensive to build from Main Street down to Broadway. One of the elements I think that is the most important in terms of creating connective tissue are the streetlights. You know, the people look up, see the streetlights, it creates an ambiance where even if the sidewalk is not in the best shape, those sidewalks some of them are bad, but some of them are also connected to buildings that are probably gonna go through renovation next 3 years, including the waterfront, including TZ Vista, including 65 Main Street. So some of those sidewalks might get done as part of the general renovation of those buildings. But it might be that what we can do is orient toward creating more of those old timey light fixtures in more parts of the village to kind of continue that kind of feel to it, which would be.
Tells us to keep walking
Right.
down, like, oh, there's somebody said that to me that just came in town, when they saw the new lights.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
lights, yeah, which we can
But
do
at the
privately,
same
they're not
time,
expensive.
I'll say for our block, it's great you see it in the distance, but for like 3 blocks in between, there's no.
No, it's gotta be.
If it
Of
was-
course,
there's no-
continuous, isn't it?
Yeah.
These go up earlier than everybody else, by the way.
Yeah.
I think, I mean,
It's-
I think it's worth passing forward and continuing to work on it. And seeing if we want to distill it to something, take into consideration. There was definitely feedback about leaving out other parts of the village. Remember, the original concept was to create a downtown connection between the waterfront and Main Street and Broadway. That was the idea. So we'd be sort of neutering that idea if we
But
were.
now Silver Franklin is where it's at.
Yes.
Putting $3 million into a waterfront restaurant. Including and $1 million of public funds.
What's the curfew of the park?
10 o'clock, the park was dusk, but the marina's 10 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, so then how much will we need the lighting for?
It's not the lighting, it's not the water, this is literally just
This is
just Main Street.
straight.
This is
I
just,
thought it was all the streets, Main Street, just Main
I
Street
think
down
it's
here,
one whole we
past
have.
Kevin's and the
It would be lights all the way down to the waterfront.
Which
But
got you.
but they're not, it's not like they're every 10 feet apart. They're
I understand.
they're streetlights. They're on the
Yeah.
corners.
We don't have to do it.
And I know I jumped ahead to the restaurant thing, but I mean, isn't that, I mean, you want to get people to go down there.
Yeah, so you
Don't
want
we have to
like-
have something to go down there?
Yeah.
You're looking at me like I'm nuts for suggesting that we refine this, because I know we put a lot of work into it to get to this point, so that's why you're looking at, that's why Andy's looking at me too.
But it's not entirely up to you, it's also up to the LPC, so I guess
Yeah,
I'll
what do you
put
wanna do?
this to the LPC of, do you want this project to move forward, or
Yeah, we
is it
do.
just not?
Of course.
Let me see, I wanna see the show of hands on this one, because I don't know that everybody.
And Elliot.
Okay.
I think this needs to be refined, but I would.
Can the village rank their own projects and tell us which one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they cannot, they can voluntarily remove any of their projects if they wish to. All right, next up, waterfront restaurant,
What do we do? We got.
show of hands on who
What
wants to
about
move this one
overflow? Yeah.
forward.
New York forward,
Forward.
Okay,
New York forward.
okay. Easy peasy. Okay, here's an interesting one. Rockland YMCA renovation and new public plaza. This one scored pretty low, so this is kind of in the disagree. That it aligns with state and regional goals. It looks like it aligns with goal 1, maybe goal 3, maybe 4, maybe 6, maybe goal 7. So thoughts on this one? Yeah,
I'd like to know, how else, like, how much does the national YMCA kick into Nyack? And do they have the money to do it? There's a lot of really beautiful YMCA facilities all over New York and New Jersey. So I'm just curious.
yeah,
They have a lot of money.
I don't know.
Look, I'm saying, is that, maybe that goes back to
Yeah,
that.
sure, sure.
Is this just an idea there? So that, I mean, it's such an iconic facade and they want to renovate it, but they've taken. And look, I'm all about accessibility for a lot of reasons in my own life. But I really wish I knew what they think it would look like.
Well, I don't know that they're really redoing the facade. That it was,
Just changing the main entrance.
yeah, I think it's really changing the main entrance and then everything else is, interior, improvements to accessibility. And then a lot of it is just kind of general maintenance-y type of projects.
Does the building that has rug store in it, is that also part of the YMCA or is that a separate?
We think it's the same,
The
so
second
we,
floor, right? The second floor.
Yeah.
They own that.
but that, yeah, cause if you look at that, if you look at that separate entrance, that the one that they're looking to, we think it's the one that's on South Broadway that they're looking to upgrade. That entrance is actually technically part of the other building, of the lower scale, like non-historic looking building. And they have said that they own 2 buildings, that the whole facility is 2 buildings. And part of the reason why they wanna do the accessibility, upgrades is because the 2 buildings are at different heights. Like the floors are different heights, so there are stairs just to get between the 2 buildings, even though they use the whole thing.
Having trouble like
Sure they have to live locally.
seeing the redesign of the front, they don't have the sidewalk, and then there's gonna be like outdoor seating and
Yeah, I see that.
hydration stations, I'm like, can they even do that without the village?
I mean, the impression they got was the first thing when I looked at it, I said, where are they gonna put any public space here? That was the thing I didn't understand, because they have a very narrow, not narrow sidewalk, they have a normal sized sidewalk, but there's not like any plaza area that you could convert. You know,
Yeah, so like that's kind of what made me totally confused by, so just not sure how they're gonna build that.
And you know, the other thing is that that's a pretty extraordinary example of local architecture. That the same person that built, same brothers that built the first Reformed church, the Angel, they built this and they built the gates to Oak Hill Cemetery, the Emery brothers. So I mean, how much they're gonna change that might.
I don't, so they, I believe that they would be required to, they would have to go through SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office. So I don't think that they were, kind of the gist that I got from their application is that they're not looking to radically change any of the historical elements of the facade. And they don't have plans yet, but they have hired an architect for it. for the project, but they don't have renderings yet. I don't know that they would by the next meeting, but.
It's just a lot of money.
Their original proposal for the DRI involved building a bigger pool, a bigger fitness room, a childcare room, offices to the face, using that building that they own going right down. But this looks like just a itty bitty piece of. So
Yeah, nothing, they didn't mention any of that in their application, so I don't think that's part of
And
it.
it's a lot of money. Just yeah, and like. It doesn't, it's not bringing any additional housing, affordability, downtown revitalization, tourism, I don't know.
It doesn't seem crucial to their meeting their mission.
Yeah.
Like, I think they can
exactly.
keep on about it.
So let me see a show of hands, who would like to see this, project not move forward? Okay.
So much, I'm so
I
sad.
know, YMCA is so important.
4, 5, 6,
When
so,
losses.
so it looks like it has received a majority to not move forward, so I think we can say it would not move forward, sorry. Oh,
Oh, no,
okay.
It's a shame.
Okay, so this one comes off.
The only thing I was really interested in is the boiler, is that pool looks so cold.
Sure.
We have a lifetime.
All right, plan your visit, tourism, digital site. Okay, so this one is right in the middle in terms of whether it aligns with, state and regional goals. It looks like it aligns with goal 3, maybe 4, definitely 6. And not that. And maybe still 7. So that's on this one. This is the plan your tourism, government.
So, there's not a lack of websites. Actually, we have too many,
Yes.
and there's just not collated. Maybe this would be it, so maybe this is the one, but I also just hear the difference between all the other ones.
I think that's my same concern. It's, and also like, there's a overlap of the way funding. I feel like there's so many solutions and none of them get used, right? So that's your point, there's so many websites, but
Yeah.
they're never used, right? So,
Right.
Yeah.
like, it would almost, that money would almost be better spent towards getting more online traffic, right?
Yeah.
Creating-
Yeah,
Advertise. Another site.
And also should totally make sense. Website. Yeah, because everything constantly changes.
Yeah.
So then it's an outdated site.
Right, and that's my other concern is that it might not be right.
Yes.
Sure.
Just one, just very short story, this was your predecessor, was that we were trying to find out whether we advertise on NIAC News and Views and something, they told us that we would be spending money in the county, but it turned out that's where people were going. Who would come from outside the county to find out what to do in NIAC, so it's interesting that, this newspaper, this online paper, is really drawing a lot of tourists to kind of, what's going on in the community, in addition, I mean, instead of a lot of time.
So show of hands of who wants this project to move forward. Okay,
And I would vote for it if I knew that.
I might suggest that this is the kind of thing that might be incorporated also into the wayfinding.
I think so.
That it's an element, it's not like its own project, it's an element of a larger project of how would it fit within an overall strategy? And then you get the branding people are involved in it and stuff like that. So maybe I'd go back to them to say that to try to incorporate it into the larger wayfinding project, which would be now a public project and would be part of the overall budget for that. Because I think I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm a little bit more inclined to like the idea than I think some of you, because I think it's a worthwhile goal, but I think it is complicated to explain at this point what we'd be trying to do. And I think it'd be good to get actual input from branding experts and, people in the field and whatnot who do this.
Yeah, but also like to talk about where brand it, like where
that is going, right? There are changes, I agree. There's a lot of change happening online. Oh, yeah. Right.
And there's not, there wasn't much money, so it's not as if it moves the earth either way.
Alright, you wanna go get them?
Wait, is that a,
Wait, so is that so that was this does not move forward
as a standalone?
as a standalone project. Is it worth the village to consider? Maybe adding it into theirs?
Yes, maybe.
Maybe.
I think we're still gonna maybe wind up with the same issues about keeping it updated. Regardless of whose hands it is, it's a lot of money. I like that.
Mary, you heard some of that feedback, so we'll let you guys figure that out.
I think it's good to invite them to be here.
Great. Okay. The next one is a small project fund, and this one seems, this is, I think, the strongest agreement that it aligns with state and regional goals, and it seems to hit most of the goals. So I think we want to say this one moves forward. Okay. And that's it. Yay. Oh my God, it's already 9:15. I cannot say thank you enough.
Thank you.
Anything that we have outstanding, let's see, is really just,
Hopefully, is this the longest meeting?
this is the longest one I've been part of.
Really?
Oh, no, that
Because the
was
number of
no,
excellent projects.
we have one and a half stuff, but I will say that you guys, we have 3 questions that we have to ask you guys. No, 2, we already answered 1. So at our next LPC meeting, we can choose to have the project sponsors present their projects. Is there, just for the projects that have moved forward, is there interest in doing?
Yes.
I would rather than have them make a presentation, I'd rather have them supplement whatever they've already given us. And then we ask them questions. I don't need to hear them talk about the project and introduce and everything like that. Just have them come up. And if we have questions for them, we ask them questions. It'll prevent that from being the longest meeting that you've ever been to.
What we've done in the past is that I feel like, what did we do when we did this in Cornwall? I think we actually created the slides and sent it, or we had them create their own slides. Like you have 2 slides that you get. One is project description, the other one's gonna be your budget, and there might be some other things in between. So they don't get a lot of time, and they're given a time limit. If we do it, they're given a very strict time limit.
Yeah.
That's fine. 2 slides and a minute per slide.
All right.
And then we take questions.
In the CFA process,
It's like Zach's
in the CFA process, we give a 5-minute presentation that's a visual.
Okay, so we will,
5 minutes.
just to present, and we'll come up with something, and then the other question was, before LPC meeting number 4, if the LPC chooses to, you guys can establish a working group. The working group will be offline, it would not be public, no decisions could be made, but it would allow you guys to, have to flesh out some of these questions and to basically get a jump start on understanding, is this on the other evaluation criteria, is this project catalytic? And things like that. So that would be, again, it would be offline, it would be by which I mean virtual, not, I guess, online. It would be virtual, but not open to the public, no decision making, but then it would kind of help get your thoughts before the next LPC meeting, and then you can give your opinion. But you guys do not have to do it. Some communities choose to do it, others don't.
This would be a subgroup of the group?
This would be a
Volunteers?
This would be a subgroup of the group, if anybody's.
And that would be after we've gotten these questions answered.
I can't guarantee that, because we'll try to get the questions out to the sponsors this week, but I'm not sure when, between like trying to schedule things. I know it's back to school and everything, so trying to schedule things is a little iffy, so I would hope so, but it might not be. So would anybody be interested in a working group?
I would do it if people wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
Thank you. We
Already
need
got your-
Why don't you send an email out and we'll see who wants to volunteer.
food,
I'll
Okay.
host it.
snacks.
Will dinner be served?
No, it's virtual.
You're
Oh,
a-
yeah, it's in the gift.
Hold on. I want to share something with you.
You guys,
Is there anything else you had?
No, only that, so next meeting is that was supposed to be the long one, but given how long this one went, you might wanna just, budget for more time. So next one starts at 5 instead of 5:30, so please note that. We have it going till 8, hopefully it'll go till 8, but I can't guarantee that. I know you might have to leave, that's fine.
date?
That is the 24th.
Rivertown Film has a thing that night. I gotta go there.
I just wanted to share a tally with you all that you might find interesting. We originally had 21 projects total. Requests, so about 12.5 million they requested.